break for a second?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm so pretty. Oh, we're live.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Port Cunningham, and I'm here with my distinguished, honorable co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Baines.
That's me.
The world's handsomest man.
That guy's over there.
Let's see your profile. Wow.
World's handsomest man.
You know, I'm not
I'm
of that
so pretty,
persuasion, but
I'm so pretty.
I'm
so
not of that
pretty and witty and wise. What a pity. All the world can't be like me.
you know, I've never, well, I think I've admitted it before. I'm not of that persuasion, but if I was, I'd propose to you. You're so beautiful. You're a beautiful man. So anyway, this is the Pork and Bean Show. We're here with our special guest, Alfred Santariga, right?
Yes.
Santariga?
Santariga.
All right. You know, I've
The
got
royal line.
what?
The royal line.
Yeah, tell us about your name or whatever. I've got some Italian blood in me too. I got a few stories, Italian stories too. But what's your
Well, family history goes back to ancient Rome, where it's an original name of Rome. We've had a couple of high-ranking officers in the Roman Legion, and the last name in Italian means Holy Line.
Well, isn't that not a coincidence when it comes to you? Because you're doing the good work, right? You're doing some good life.
I'm trying to get to the truth. There's so much disinformation out there and bad stuff going on right now in the paranormal community. It's really taking a toll on me, all the negativity and all the BS that's being spit out at this point in time.
I want to hear about that, but just quickly, I'll tell you my heritage a little bit. I've got some Italian too in me, but Sicilian.
Okay.
So if you end up with a horse head in your bed, you know where it came from. But anyway, no, my grandfather actually was in the mafia. He was like the Don of like Hamilton or whatever. He was like a big shot.
Nice.
Like he had his car blown up in front of his house.
Wow.
And I used to be driving around with him going to the racetrack and whatever. I'm lucky I didn't get knocked off or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There'd definitely be a collateral damage. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we share the Italian heritage. So although I'm mostly English, but so what bad stuff are you talking about that's going on in the community?
No, there's a lot of people right now just spitting a lot of false narratives in the paranormal community, and they're getting a lot of airtime and they're getting they've been in the community for 2 minutes. I guess they're the flavor of the day. They're getting a lot of airtime on all the radio stations and all the networks, and they've written books, and I don't understand how they can write a book. They've been in the field for 10 minutes, but they've written books, and they're getting invited to symposiums, and it's just what they're doing is, this may be just my interpretation on the thing, but they're taking what little truth that is out there and they're covering it up with misinformation, and they're going to make the truth a false narrative and the false narrative a truth. And all the work that people have done before us, like Ron Moorhead and everybody else like that, it's just going to go away the way of the dodo bird, and it just rubs me the wrong way. It really does. It just makes me nuts.
Give us an example of like some of the false narratives. Like what?
I'm not going to name names.
No. We don't want names. We don't do that here. No, we don't name names. That's judgment and whatever, and that's negative.
Yeah, just energy. Like hoaxing videos and stuff like that. There's a lot of hoaxers out there that creating fake like thermal images, videos. You know what I mean? And just stuff like that. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad right now. And there's a lot of people out there that are going through a lot of the groups that have been around for a long time, like myself and others, and going through all of our reports. Okay, they're reading our reports, and they're taking them and they're tweaking them, and they're putting them in books and using them as their own, investigations and their own research and stuff like that. And it's like, just, I mean, I've never written a book, and people have been after me forever to write a book, and I'm just not that's not who I am. But don't steal my stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, I've caught radio guys, these storytellers that read stories, 2 or 3 of them. Like, I got some stuff on the BFRO page and stuff, and they take it and they tweak it and they edit it and they read it, and it's just they destroy everything. I mean, all the stuff that makes the experience truthful, they add it out. They keep all the exciting stuff, what they think is exciting, and I catch them all the time, and I say, hey, listen, I don't mind you taking my stuff and reading it on air. That's fine. But read it as verbatim as it's been written, because that's the way it happened. When you start editing my stuff, you make it look like a false narrative. You know what I mean? And it just burns my ass, for lack of a better definition. And then I tell them, if you want me to come on, I'll be more than happy to come on and tell the story or talk about the experience. But if you're going to read it, then read it as is. Don't change it, and just stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For an example, these guys you would have an experience. You say, I saw a 10-foot Sasquatch walk across the road. Then it went completely invisible. Then I felt it communicating with me through mind speaker energy or whatever. And their story would be, you saw a 10-foot Sasquatch walk across the road and disappear into the brush. They'd leave all the important, pertinent parts out.
Yeah. I mean, just, and then I get so many photographs. Honest to God, I get so many photographs. I used to be a photographer in another life. Okay. And I get so many photographs of tree stumps.
Yeah.
And blob squatches and blurry images. And this is a Sasquatch. This is a dogman. This is a Sasquatch cloaked. That's why it's blurry. And I'm like, no, it's blurry because the lens couldn't focus at whatever you were pointing at. That's why it's blurry. That's not a Sasquatch. That's a tree trunk, because you can follow it all the way down to the ground and then up where the branches sprout out, but they don't want to hear that stuff. And then what really makes me crazy is that there's millions of people saying, wow, those are such great photographs. And I'm like, are you people out of your mind? It just makes me crazy.
I'm sorry, and I will offend some friends or whatever, but this is a pet peeve of mine too. Like, when I see somebody with a photograph and then somebody says, oh, I see 50 others in there, and then they start circling them, all of them, and they're like, okay.
I refuse to take any more photographs with a digital camera. I went back to film.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned film. Because you know why? Because when you blow up film, you don't depixelate the pictures, and it doesn't turn into 100 different faces. You know what I mean? What you have in that image is what you have in that image. Now, I do use the digital stuff for recording, because I have a camera that records in, UV, IR, regular light. It also records in infrasound. You know what I mean? So that I can't do anything with, you know what I mean? I have to use a digital camera for that. But when it comes to regular still photographs or something I want to see right away, I go back to the Polaroids. If I need to see it right then and there, I'll use the Polaroid. If I can wait and just roll the film, I'll use a 35 millimeter. I'm just so tired of people blowing up stuff and getting all this pixelation. And like you said, they see faces everywhere. And everything, because that's what our mind wants to see, So, I mean, and I try to
I beg to differ. I think those people are actually seeing it. Their mind makes reality. And so some people just, they call it pareidolia, but I think that's a real psychic thing. Well, they're seeing the unseen.
Well, that's debatable, because if you ever seen the commercial on TV where the guy's talking to the sink, the light fixture, everything looks like a face, the fire hydrant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
when I walk through the woods, I can see faces in every rock, pretty much, and every tree. And sometimes I think that but you know, at the stage of my lessons or whatever, sometimes I think that they actually are, you know, because rocks and trees are both they've got consciousness, so it is possible. This is the thing though, and I'll preface it with this: a lot of people, we all experience things differently, right? We all experience things differently. So I'm not going to discount that these people are seeing something, because we don't all experience it in the same way.
Right, and I totally agree 100%. But like I always say, when I see a light in the sky, I have a lot of UFO experience. When I see a light in the sky, I don't think every light in the sky is a UFO. You know what I mean? When I see a light in the sky and I hear a little voice in my head said, pay attention to this, this is important, then I get a gut feeling. I call it a vibe. I get a vibe, and I pay attention to what I'm supposed to be seeing. You know what I mean? Now, whether or not everybody around me is seeing it or it's just me, I don't know. But if I don't get a certain feeling, you know, if I'm looking at something, like you said, and I'm looking at a tree and it looks like there's a face in it, and I don't get a certain feeling from that, then it's just, you know, pareidolia. If I look at a tree and I see a face in it and I get a feeling like, pay attention to this, Al, this is important, you know, it's part of your development, I'll go over to that tree, you know, and I'll look and I'll touch and I'll feel, because I don't know what it is about me. I always have to touch everything, you know, and feel it, get a vibe, get some kind of feeling through it. And, you know,
I think that's a good thing. You know,
me too.
You're using more than just your eyes and ears.
Well,
yeah, no, I agree.
I agree with you all, because that's very similar to me, except I get like, well, sometimes I'll get the mind speak or pay attention kind of thing, but usually it's an energy nudge, you know, especially when I'm talking about something that they really believe is truth. I'll get hit up with a big blast of energy, and it's like, okay, you're talking truth. And that to me is confirmation for me, because you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I've done this long enough, and I've never claimed to be psychic in any stretch of the imagination. I've always had gut feelings. My mother was a sensitive. I don't claim to be sensitive, but I've had, you know, shamans and Reiki masters and psychics tell me that I am psychic. I still don't claim to be psychic, but the longer you're in the field, the more you feel different energies. You know what I mean? Like now, before, when I would go into a location, I may get a gut feeling, I may hear a little voice in my head, but now I'm getting a metallic taste in my mouth. I'm getting pressure in my temples. My fingers are tingling. So all of these things are different energies that affect me differently, you know? And so I guess over the years, I've gotten more sensitive to different energies.
Yeah, well, I think that people who are actually connected with Sasquatch, like yourself, or Star Nations people or whatever, or people who have had near-death experiences and stuff, these gifts and these abilities that the Sasquatch and the Star Nation people have, we start having them awoken in us. Like I've had all kinds of things, changes since I've had my relationship with them, like just dramatic. So these abilities they seem to be opening up in a lot of people, right?
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to get back out to a couple of my locations. Ever since I had the awakening, I haven't been able to get out to the locations because I've had a really bad injury on my ankle, so I can't walk. I'm waiting to get surgery on it for like 2 years now. And I'm dying to get out there because I was told now once you get out there, you're going to have so much more clear communication with them. You know what I mean? Wow, you're going to hear them loud and clear. And like I said, I have about 5 different locations going now where I just stumble across stuff, you know, and have these experiences. And I'm very excited to get out there. Hopefully I can get out there this summer and do some more research. But, you know, like I said, I've been so distraught with the way the community has gone lately that I'm kind of reeling myself in. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to put any more reports out on any of my sites, because I don't want people taking my stuff and using it and, for their own advantage and make money off of it and stuff like that. There's a handful of researchers that I know are in it for the right reason, for the truth, and the experiencing of the truth and the knowledge. It's all about knowledge. And those people I will continue to associate with and go out with and take them out with me. But I don't know if I'm I'm going to start writing up stuff anymore like I did in the past and talk about all of my experiences. I think I'm going to kind of reel it in.
Just put them out yourself. However, just put them out yourself and don't let anybody edit them. That's
Well, it's hard when someone goes on your page and
just give it to Brian. Nobody sees what he posts. That's why you give it to me. Nobody sees what I post. I can post all day long. That's 12 views is what I get.
That's great.
but that's true. Like I talked about, in my opinion, truth about them and their teachings and all that stuff. And I'll get 100, 150 views, maybe tops. These other guys are talking about monsters and the tracks and just the stuff that, who cares about that? Stuff? We know they exist. These guys get 15,000 views.
I feared for my life.
Yeah, no, it's all about fear and it's all about demons and fear now. You know what I mean? Everything's about I've listened to a few people that I know. The red flags go off. That they're just making stuff up as it goes, and the stories are so incredible that it's just that the half of the story doesn't coincide with the other half of the story. It makes no sense, and people are just they're like magnets. People are just flocking to these people. 30,000 people are following them, and I'm like Jesus Christ, you can't see all the red flags. And I'm not the type of guy to go on and listen to somebody and then criticize everything or call bullshit on everything they say. Oh, this is a red flag or that's a red flag. I mark it down on my little journal. Okay, red flag, and I keep it to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know when his stuff comes up that there's no way that could have happened. That's a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? Things are just so they've taken it to such another level of ridiculousness. It's just there's no truth to it anymore. It's just. Like I said, I'm so disgusted with the whole thing.
Well, one of the big lessons I got from the Sasquatch is judgment. So we can't really judge these guys, but doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay attention to them either, right?
No, it's you know what, and it's not that I have any ill will towards any of these guys.
No, you don't seem to.
No, it's just that they're taking all the hard work that everybody who's come before them and the truth, the little bit, little tidbits that people have picked up over the years and the truth, and they're just demolishing that, and they're killing the truth, and they're putting false narratives in its place. So I think they're doing more damage than good. But
you got to think in the long term. The UFO community went through this exact same thing. In the beginning, it was all they're going to eat us, they're going to make soup out of us, and they're taking us, they're raping us, and all this kind of stuff. And then people had to work through all that, and everybody was disinformationing and making up movies and all that kind of stuff. But eventually, it came down to hey, most of the people who go on craft or have these kind of out of body spiritual experiences with this ET people, they come out better ahead. But their life is better, more spiritual, more intuitive, more psychic, all that kind of stuff. And it's just going to has to play out the same way with the Sasquatch people. Because every day, more and more people are getting a love zap, or they're getting an intuition opened up, or some kind of spiritual thing is happening to them. They go, oh, this got something to do with Sasquatch. I never knew. Right. So the whole fear thing, people got to work through that. It's just a natural part. And with the UFO people, that took 50 years.
Yeah. 70 really. But no, look, I believe I've been abducted twice. Okay. at least 2 times that I know I can remember, and I've never seen the craft. I don't remember the craft. I've never had regressive hypnosis, but I always felt every time I came back, I was more in tune with the universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't go around telling the world about it, but I mean, like, that's how I felt. I kept it to myself. I would love to be able, I know so many psychics being in the paranormal field that are just mind boggling. They're so damn good. They blow your mind. You know what I mean? They are so locked in that it's scary. Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
We got a few that have been on our show that are.
Oh, how do they do that? That's like, what?
Yeah.
Get Katie Turner on your show. She'll scare the hell out of you.
Well,
she's from Canada too. So
it's in a good way,
Send her our info or whatever and get her.
Why don't you join the Pork and Beans and be our agent, or
I'll definitely give her your information, because Katie's one of those girls I just used her on a cleansing. I was doing a cleansing, and I used her on the cleansing because the place was just beyond. And she told the family so much stuff that it just blew their minds. And then, like, the few times I talked to her on the phone, because I hate to bother people, you know what I mean? But my team psychic was going through back surgery. So she was out of the commission. So I went to Katie, and I'm talking to Katie, and all of a sudden she starts reading me, and I'm trying to get off the phone because I don't want her to go too far back, because, when I was a kid, I wasn't a very nice person, So I try to get off the phone as fast as I can because she just starts going boom, 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 boom. And it's scary. It really is. But she's phenomenal. Oh my God. Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your awakening, but first of all, I just wanted to say, wrapping this kind of thing up, is that, we're not judging these people, at least, but the thing is that it's very sad that when people are presented new ideas, new evidence, and whatever that doesn't fit into their box of beliefs or their ego, or geez, somebody might, whatever their motivation is, that's really sad, because they're not going to grow.
No, absolutely
they're not going to grow in this. That's the sad thing. And the other sad thing is that they're the people that everybody listens to. So the people who really have the true story about Sasquatch and these kind of connections were kind of thought of as like weirdos or something, but not to everybody. But I think it's people are coming around. But it's
I do. I think people are coming around. I do.
But it's
slow but steady.
When you have evidence presented and beautiful stuff and the real stuff, and then it's just like thrown away, that's not good.
They don't even want to hear you. They don't want to hear they don't want to hear about the truth. They want to hear about, imagination, people making shit up as they go. I can't tell you how many interviews I've listened to over the years of the so-called experts who are just making shit up as they go. You know what I mean? And
I wanted to say something to you.
Well, hold on a minute. Let me just finish this.
No, wait.
And the thing, and the thing is now you made me forget. The thing is, darn it.
Oh, you guys are great.
Damn it. I had a good.
I remember what I was going to say. Can I go?
Oh, darn it. I forgot now what I was going to say now, but. Oh, I know. But I. The thing is that you see, like, one thing is a lot of these guys have been out there for 30 or 40 years, but they don't have the right heart. They're not connecting in the way that the Sasquatch are interested in, because they're only interested in teaching and connecting and whatever. So these guys are out there for 30 or 40 years or whatever, and they've had none of this stuff happen, or maybe they have had a little bit, but they discount it. But the thing is, they can't believe that other people have had it because, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm the expert. That can't be true. And the missing part of the equation is they're not in their heart. They're not connecting with the Sasquatch for no agenda, for no reason other than love, knowledge,
truth,
connection, right?
Yeah.
And so, they say, well, this can't be happening.
No,
I've
absolutely.
been doing it for 30 years and that's crap and blah, blah, blah. But open up your heart, buddy. Open up your
I,
heart.
wa- I wanted to, what I wanted to say about Alfred is that we're going to backtrack to what you just said before I interrupted myself. You said that you do paranormal investigations, and then you said you do Bigfoot and maybe even Dogman. You do all these investigations, right? And then just now, you said my psychic on my team. You have a psychic on your team, right? Somebody you
Yes.
can refer to. And
Yes.
I've been saying this for 10 years. The field of Bigfoot, if the researchers have one psychic on their team to find out where they are, what they're up to, are they mad, are they busy, to find out what's going on, the whole world of Sasquatch research will change. And you're the first, one of the first guys who has a psychic on the team. And I was like, hey, big ups to you. That's the direction you need to go, because you can find, the psychic can tell you what the Sasquatch's name is, if they have children, all kinds of stuff like that.
Mhm.
So good ups to you, man. You know, you're the leading edge right now of the direction that you need to go in for because like Brian was just saying, 40 years, these guys are frantic. Their minds are fried because 40 years, all they got is scat and footprints plaster cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's got to hurt your feelings.
my psychic tells me all the time. Whenever, as a matter of fact, I don't even tell her what I'm doing. She'll call me. She's in Arkansas. She does everything over the phone. She reads me. She says I'm a conduit. She reads me over the phone, and she'll call me and she'll say, "Where are you going? I'm getting this. I'm seeing this. You know." And then she'll say, "Okay, the Bigfoot are expecting you. They know you're coming. So call me when you get to the parking lot of the location." And then I'll call her and she'll say, "Okay," because I always have her read everybody that comes out with me before we go, because I don't want anybody coming out with me who's got bad intentions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I don't want anybody who's got like subconscious fear, because there's more than Sasquatches in the wood. And I always tell everybody, protect yourself physically and spiritually, because there's a lot of stuff in the woods. And if you have subconscious fear, you're a beacon to dark stuff, and things will attach to you. And so she'll call me and she'll say, "Okay," I get there, I'll call her. She says, "Oh my God, you know, they already know you're here. You know, they're waiting for you, you know, and they're watching you and this, that, and the other thing." And so she's spot on all the time. I drive her crazy because I'm a New Yorker and I don't believe in psychics, but she's proven me wrong like 1,000 times. I do believe now that some people are gifted. But I mean, so we go out, but see, my brother is a parapsychologist. Okay. And my brother's been doing this for like 70 years. And he used to go out with Hans Holzer's right-hand man and Hans Holzer's psychics. And he told me when I put my team together, he said he was the one who convinced me to put a team together, because I was just going out with friends from work, you know, and having all these paranormal experiences. He said, put a team together. And he goes, and the most important thing is just get a good psychic, you know, and
Get a good psychic. That's the trick, man.
And the woman that is my psychic on my team, Cindy, I knew her for like 3 years before she even ever told me she was a psychic, you know? She never told me she was a psychic, ever. And then when she did, I was like, okay. Of course, the first time we went out, I tested her and she blew everybody's mind. So, you know, from that point on, I mean, the stuff she tells us sometimes it's hard to swallow, you know, like you're going to see this, you're going to see that, you're going to hear that. But in the end, at the end of the night, when it's all said and done, everything she says actually comes true. Everything, and we don't go out looking for it. You know, we're not looking for this. We're not looking for gnomes. We're not looking, or we're out doing a paranormal investigation, whether it's in the woods or we're not looking for gnomes or rakes or Bigfoots or dogmen. But if she says you're going to see fairies, you're going to see gnomes and stuff like that, it happens. It just happens, and it's just mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look, I mean, I believe
you're on the show, man. People need
I
to
believe
know.
in psychics and all that stuff because the Sasquatch have all those abilities, and we have them too. They're just getting woken up in us. So,
I agree.
My
I
friend
agree.
Cindy
100%.
Carter. My friend Cindy Carter can open portals. That's what psychics can do. You do stuff like that. Like what? You know.
Hey,
Yeah, no,
our friend Cindy Carter.
Well, she was your friend first, but I took her away.
Not
So
only your friend.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I mean, like I said, we everybody says that, like all these different communities, whether it's ufologists or cryptids or paranormal people, everybody says this is not connected to that. It's all connected.
Absolutely.
Everything is connected. I can't tell you enough. I can't beat that into your head enough. Everything is connected. Don't sit there and say, like, the MUFON people don't want to hear about this and the cryptid people don't want to hear about that. But I'm telling you, it's all connected. Everything.
Let's talk about your awakening, because I'm sure that when I had mine, that was like, that was like, it was a knowing. I knew a lot more, but I knew we were all connected. So it's just a big knowing, right? And I'm sure, well, anyway, tell us about your awakening, because that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I was in bed sleeping one night, and I thought I was dreaming. Honest to God, I felt my consciousness leave my body. I was having an outer body experience, right? I could see me laying there in the bed, and there's this invisible force behind me guiding me up towards the stars, the heavens, and it's talking to me, but I'm not hearing it like we're talking now. I'm hearing it in my head, like mental telepathy, and it's saying, tonight's the night. I'm going to tell you the secrets of the universe. And we're traveling up this rainbow bridge, which the colors were so pure, unbelievable colors, just mind-boggling colors. And it's telling me that all the knowledge that's ever has been or ever will be is in the universe for us to tap into. Okay. And it's telling me, and like I said, we're going further and further, man. Like, we're going out in deep space, and I'm seeing musical notes going by me. I play guitar, okay, but I don't read music. And I see musical notes, which I have no idea what they're, and I'm seeing mathematical notes, and I'm seeing images of Tesla and Einstein and Da Vinci, and I'm seeing Bach and Beethoven. I'm seeing all these great minds that have ever been, on Earth. And I'm seeing, and it's telling me, like, all of these people have tapped into this universal knowledge, So at one point we reach our apex and we start to come down, and I'm like, okay, what's the secret to the universe? I'm dying to hear this now, right? Yeah. And as we're coming down, it says, well, the first thing is frequency. And it says, this, and as we're getting, and it's taken a while to tell me. First thing is frequency. Okay, and then we're coming down, and we're getting closer to. I can see my house, and it's the second thing is vibration. And I'm like, okay, and we're getting closer to my house, and I'm like, man, I don't want to wake up not knowing the last thing. Please tell me, because we're getting close to my house. And it says the third thing is consciousness, and I said it's all frequency, vibration, and consciousness. And I was like, okay, now I'm back in my body. And I say, man, that was the craziest dream I ever had. And the voice says, no, it's not a dream. When the snow melts, fine. It was in February on the ground. I go in the yard because they said it's going to, you'll descend in my yard. I go in the yard, and I go and I'm looking around. I'm not seeing anything is not sticking out of the ordinary. So I go into the far backyard, and I see these crystal stones around a tree. I'm not even sure what kind of tree it is. I believe it's spruce, but I know it's not maple. It may be spruce. And they're the size of bowling balls, but they're all quartz crystal stones. And I'm like, whoa, how did this get here? Like this must be the sign. So I'm looking at the stones. So a little voice in my head says, feels the stones. And I can feel the stones, and I feel the vibration coming out of the stones. And then the voice says, touch the tree. And I touch the tree, and I can feel the vibration going through the tree. And, I don't know what to do with it. I've taken martial arts my whole life. I have 5 different color belts and 5 different martial arts. The hardest thing for me to ever do was to meditate. when we were in the dojo, when we were supposed to meditate, my mind is going 1,000 miles an hour. I can't meditate, no matter how hard I try. The only thing that actually brings me down, like lets me venerate, is Native American music. The Native American music helps me meditate, get to that stage. Okay, I've found that over the years. That's my little way of tuning in, you know. So again, I call my friend of mine who's a higher conscious. This guy, he's actually an off-worlder. Okay, and he tells me, okay, I tell him the secret of the universe, and he's laughing at me. So yeah, okay, you've had a higher, an awakening or an ascension or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, so I said, well, what do I do with these stones? And he says, you sit on the stones, you put your back against the tree, you take your shoes off your feet, you put them on the earth, and you ground yourself. He says, and whenever you have a question about anything, you go here and you meditate in this circle against this tree, and you clear your mind and you ask the universe, and the universe will give you the answer. Says, Alv, you've ascended to another level now. He said, when you were younger and you had all those gut feelings and those vibes and everything else, he goes, you've gone past that now. You're at a whole different level. And like I said, I went to an investigation and I ran into a friend, the world-renowned psychic, and I walked in and hadn't seen her in a while. And she's like, oh my God, what happened to you? And I said, I shaved my head, And she's like, no, I'm not talking about you shaving your head. She goes, your aura is like exploding. She goes, what happened to you? So I told her about what happened. And she started she was so happy for me. She was like crying. She's like, oh my God, Al, welcome to my world. I was like, no, I'm not in your league. You know what I mean? You're way above me. And, so that kind of validated all of this stuff, And I mean, she's seen my aura was just so bright. And my psychic always told me that the reason why I had so many paranormal experiences, whether it be Sasquatch, Dogman, UFO related, is because of my intent. She said, you have a good heart and you have a bright aura and you have good intent. And that's why things show itself to you, That's why you have so many paranormal experiences. Like my brother has been doing this for 70 years. He's seen one UFO when he was riding a bicycle over the Alps in Italy. You know what I mean? I'm getting images of, ghostly images in my photographs. I'm being touched. I've had Dogman come to my house. I've had Sasquatch come to my house, leave me gifts. They always leave me like quartz crystal stones, the small ones.
They're amazing guys. They're amazing guys. They are as amazing as Sasquatch. If the Sasquatch like you, then the Dogman will come around and check out who's this guy the Sasquatch like, and they can be like the friendliest dogs, man. They're amazing heart spirits.
I've had 3 experiences with Dogman, and we were bluff charged one time. And I think the reason it came to my house, honestly, was because I found its den, and it said, "Okay, you know where I live. Now I know where you live, and let's have that mutual respect." That was the vibe I got,
Very cool.
And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm never gonna come to your house again and bother you ever again, because that's your home, And I've never gone back, and they've never come back here, Never had, try to kill me or anything like that. But we were bluff charged, but we were close to the den. We didn't know the den was there, And so it bluff charged us, but we held our ground, and it just left, it just left. So, I mean, so many experiences over the course of my lifetime, UFO stuff and Sasquatch stuff and the ghost stuff, just all my life. It's always been that way.
Well, your heart and what the attributes that you described about yourself were exactly why you're experiencing that, and your brother not so much, because you've got the stuff that they're interested in. They can teach you. They can. I'm getting that confirmation saying that. So
Oh, thank you.
That's
Thank you.
yes.
You got the
That-
stuff. You got the stuff, the right stuff.
It's very.
Yeah, I
I
just got
hope
lit
so.
up. My whole head just lit up with it. So I wanted to ask you. I wanted
I got
to
a
make
lot of questions for you, but off air. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, you can ask a few if you
No,
want.
no,
but
I don't want. I don't want to put anything out there that doesn't need to be out there. But go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I like that when I talk to people like yourself and others and on this show, you know, it always happens the confirmation of our experiences or whatever. Because remember, I was telling you I had that I was in this I don't even know what you call it, some kind of meditation with music where I met gatekeepers and
Right.
and
Absolutely.
and stuff in the different dimensions. Well, one of my experiences was I seen these musical notes
Okay.
flying by in space, like, and they were like musical
Yes.
notes, and I was thinking, okay, this is healing energy, or there was a bunch of different things that I connected with it, but I saw the same notes you did, and I think that's
No.
extremely cool and revealing.
Now, I always wondered, like like I said, I'm a guitar player, and I never looked those notes up to see what they were. But I wonder if those notes that they showed me was the actual Native American music that I listened to when I want to meditate. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, music and vibration is healing and has knowledge in it or
the
whatever.
underpinning of creation. It doesn't have to be about music. It's the underpinning of creation. Creation is vibration, frequency.
Yes,
and
absolutely. Yeah, oh, without a doubt.
So that was your mind. That would have given you the visual representation of like, this is the truth. And Brian too, when you see those note things, that's just saying this is the truth. This is the reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Beans, I'm going to go make myself a coffee. Do you want to take over the interview for a second?
Oh yes. Can we put you on mute or maybe take your whole picture off?
I'll go on mute and I'll take my picture off too.
Oh my God, you're too funny.
This whole thing about this vibration, frequency, and music, and is we're like tuning forks, and the
Right.
people who've been on craft, their vibration goes up because it's a sympathetic resonance. The one tuning fork vibrates another tuning fork. The people who have out of body experience, it's the same thing. We pick up the vibrational frequencies from our environment. And the people who are friends with Sasquatch, they have a heart connection to Sasquatch, their vibration goes up. So, you're like a poster boy of this, I mean, you've been around this block and picked up higher vibrations from the star people, higher vibrations from who knows, higher, masters, and you pick up higher vibrations from the psychic people that you know. And that's gotta like, let's lift up your frequency. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing here on Earth is trying to figure out how to lift up our frequency. And then when you do that, you all of a sudden you see another spectrum of life, another spectrum of truth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think anybody who doesn't think that all of this stuff is connected, I think they're missing parts of the puzzles. They'll never be able to put that whole puzzle together because they've thrown parts of it out. You know what I mean? And I just don't understand why you would limit yourself to one focus one way. You have blinders on and everything. You're trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. No, find the round peg that fits in that hole and see how the puzzle comes together, And I guess maybe it's just their intent. They don't have the intent, for truth and knowledge and love and stuff like that. And like I said, I believe intent is a big thing in everything we do. It's your intentions going into it. You know what I mean? And I think that means a lot to the other side. The other realm or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think that's why a lot of things show themselves to me because my intent is pure. I'm not looking to make money off of this. I'm not looking to be a paranormal celebrity. I'm not looking to become famous. I'm just looking for the truth.
Well, I'm telling you, you're from what I hear, right? you're saying the exact words that were sent to my friend Ray Hernandez got taken up on a craft while he was driving on I-95 in Miami, right?
Yeah.
And they said, and they showed him this big wheel, and it was like consciousness, ayahuasca, shamanic experience, meditation experience, channeling, remote viewing, it had this all this wheel of all the different phenomena, past life regressions and all that, right? Psychic abilities and apports and seances, right? And dowsing. They had all these different kind of things on there. And they said to Ray, they said, we want you to go back to Earth. When you get back to your car, I want you to research and study the fact that all of these things are separate, right?
Yep.
But they're all connected. So it's this shift that has to happen on Earth is not that, remote viewing's over here and card reading is over there. They're all connected. They're all connected in conscious. You know what happened with Ray? In 3 days, he got Mary Rodwell, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, right? And Dr. Rudy Shields, who is an eminent professor from Harvard, who is the world leading expert on black holes. So there was 4 of them. And then they founded the Free Foundation, and they did this worldwide study on ET contact, just to show that everything is connected. And you said that so far 3 times in your talk. It's all connected. It's all connected, right? So you're coming directly in line with the intent of what the Star Nations want to teach humanity at this point, right? At this point, it's all connected. And that's what the Sasquatch are doing, in my opinion, is they're saying, look, all this stuff is all connected.
Oh yeah, I agree. I have a lot. I don't like to live in theories and conjecture. You know what I mean? I'm more of a black and white kind of guy. Show me proof. Show me evidence. Show me data. And like I said, I've taken my research in a whole different direction now. It's all environmental kind of research now, and how the environment changes when things come in and out of our dimension, and when things are going to appear. I mean, I have like one piece of equipment that does like 300 readings. You know what I mean? I've become a lunatic with this stuff because I don't care about the photograph. You know what I mean? I don't care about the footprints. I got a 17-inch Sasquatch footprint above my head as we speak. But I'm like into this whole energy shift kind of thing, this environmental shift. I've noticed that. Do you happen to know who? What's her name? Oh man, I can't think of her name. Her father was a very famous ghost hunter. Oh man, Jesus. I'm drawing a blank. Never mind. I'll go back to that another time. But I've noticed that in all of my investigations, whether I'm investigating in the woods, Sasquatch, in the haunted house, or I'm having what I like to call an AIE, an active intelligent encounter with extraterrestrials. I don't call it a CE5. I call it an AIE because that's what we want. We want an active, intelligent encounter, and we've been able to bring them down to us and have those encounters on more than one occasion. And I've noticed every time I have an encounter with something of a different dimension, the energy shifts, the environment changes, and all in the environmental data. I mean, and like I said, I've taken it to another level because I've become a lunatic with this. I'm very anal that way. And I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a regular guy, Everything changes. It was an investigation where a woman who was a psychic I would go into the room before she got there, and I would do all these environmental readings, right? And I'd document all the readings, and then I'd step back and I'd wait for this woman to go in the room. And then this woman would go in with a group of people, and she would do all kinds of communication and stuff like that. And then she would leave. They would go, and I would go back and do all the environmental readings again after she left. And everything changes. Everything you can possibly think of changes. It goes 190 degrees. You know what I mean? And I did this on this one investigation. It was a historical theater, like 200-year-old theater, you know, and so everybody was following her around because she was, you know, this celebrity, you know, and she's a psychic and all this stuff. I was running in before her. I was running in after her, you know, and I was doing all these readings, and like, it's amazing how the energy changes. And I mean, a lot of people now in the Sasquatch field are doing, you know, EMF and RF readings and stuff like that.
Glad
you
we're
know,
doing that, you know.
I've been doing that since day one because I took everything that we did in the paranormal field and brought it out into the woods with me. And I'm old school. I don't only use the high-tech electronics, the ITC. I like dowsing rods. I like quartz crystal pendulums.
Rachel King uses dowsing rods, and she's got amazing stuff on her channel.
Amazing stuff happens with I sometimes get more evidence with the old school techniques than I do with all this ITC stuff that we have now, you know? And I always incorporate both. I don't only go, I know most ghost hunters nowadays, I hate the term ghost hunters, you know, I like to say paranormal investigators, always do ITC stuff. And that's it. And they're stuck with this ITC stuff. And that's great. But if you don't incorporate the old stuff too, and see how it all works together, the old stuff to me is validating the ITC stuff. I don't know. That's just who I am.
So let me ask you something. You use dowsing rods in relation to Sasquatch?
Dowsing rods, quartz crystal pendulums,
okay.
Absolutely.
How, describe to us how you do that. How does that work?
Well, I'll go into an area and I'll do a sweep with an EMF meter, right? And I don't get anything. The EMF meter doesn't go off or whatever. I'll take out the dowsing rods and I'll use the dowsing rods. And what the EMF meter is not picking up, the dowsing rods will. I don't know if it's vibrating at a different frequency that the dowsing rods are picking up with the EMF meter, is it? But I'll tell you what my favorite tool is. My favorite tool is a Tibetan singing bowl. Because once you use a Tibetan singing bowl, you change all the energy in the, whether you're in the woods or you're in a house or you're in the field doing a AIE, trying to what we call an active intelligent encounter, trying to bring a UFO in. When you put that vibration and that frequency out with a Tibetan singing bowl, things just change. We've opened up portals here in New York. We have these ancient stone chambers. Nobody knows who.
You open up portals with a singing bowl?
Yes. Yes. And here in New York, we have these ancient stone chambers that nobody knows who built them. They call them root cellars, but they're above ground and they have like 10-ton stones on them. No farmer built a root cellar above ground. And we go in there and we do these investigations. And I've been to a million of these chambers and have all kinds of paranormal activity at all of them. I felt a small Native American woman's hand on my arm. And I got an image of a young Native American girl in my head. And it was on a mountain. It was on a mountain that was Native American holy. It was a sacred site to Native Americans. We've had all kinds of stuff happen in that chamber. But I was talking, I don't know if you know who David Roundtree is. He's an electronic engineer. I was talking to him at a convention one time. And we sit at the same table. I like to pick people's brains. And he said to me, when you open up a portal, he said, the radiation will go through the roof. Bring, a Geiger counter with you. So we went into one of these stone chambers and we read the radiation level in the chamber. There was nothing there, And I was with this person who was a chamber expert, knew everything about these ancient stone chambers. But all the years this woman's been going there, she never, ever put a UV light or an IR light on the walls. Well, I hit it with an IR light through my camera, and all these runes were written across the back of the wall, like a Viking runes. She just lost her mind when she seen it. We were actually using night vision goggles at that time, and that just blew her mind. So then my partner and I decided to use the Tibetan singing bowl. And when we did, we were using a thermal imager at the time. We were filming with a thermal, and as we were filming and using the Tibetan singing bowl, the colors of the energy in the room just went crazy. And the radiation level on the Geiger counter went through the roof. It was probably unsafe for us to be in there, but we weren't going anywhere at that point in time. And at one point, something came out and came out of the dimension and looked in at us. And then when we turned around to film it, it ducked back into wherever it came from. And then at one point, we had to leave the chamber because the radiation level just got too high. And we believe that we opened up a portal in that chamber that night. Day.
Did you see what the being that looked in at you was? Did you get any?
It looked like a shadow figure. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't have any detail or anything, but it just like popped in and then it popped out. Like, what's going on in here? And then my partner seen it because it was behind me, and he said, "Al, turn around," because I had the thermal imager, and because I was like just blown away about all the different how everything changed, like the colors changed. Like if you ever seen what's the name of that place, Skinwalker Ranch, when the rabbi was there doing the thing, and they were filming it, all the colors changed and it went to purple. Well, that's what happened to us about 8 years ago before Skinwalker Ranch decided to do it, and I didn't see it. My partner seen it, but I felt it. I felt like something shifted for like a brief second. In my mind's eye, I seen it, even though my back was to it. And my partner was like, "Turn around," because I had the camera, and he was like, he had the Geiger counter and stuff like that. And I turned around, and it was gone. And then we left because, like I said, the radiation level just became too high. And I guess as the radiation level dissipated, the thing closed, the portal closed. Yeah.
I've seen Sasquatch in shadow person form and also like predator form too. About a dozen different forms. But I wanted to make a comment. I wanted to thank you. Because I have a young friend who I'm taking out because the Sasquatch connect me with people or probably I'm aware of it. I'm sure it's going on with a lot of people. Some of them might not be aware of it, but I get the energy that they want me to talk to this person or whatever. And so this guy I'm taking out, and he's really getting it on the spiritual nature because that's the kind of guy he is. Well, he's got a Tibetan singing bowl. So I'm going to suggest next time we get together, let's get that singing bowl out there and do some magic.
Yeah, and I usually use the crown chakra bowl. That's the one I use because there's different chakras, different bowls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I use the crown chakra, but I would imagine all the bowls and the frequencies they put out are going to track stuff. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure which one he has. But
yeah, well, I don't think it really matters because we've used different bowls on different investigations, and we've had different things come to us. Like we used a bigger bowl, which is like your belly chakra or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And we've had UFOs come down, to see what we were doing. And we used the crown chakra. We had Sasquatches come over to see what we were doing, Yeah. So different balls, different chakras, different frequencies bring in different things. But the Tibetan singing bowl is like amazing tool. It's one of my favorite tools in the toolbox.
I usually take my native drum out there and just drum or whatever, but I might even have to get a Tibetan singing bowl myself.
Yeah, get the crown chakra. It's the smallest one and easiest one to carry around with you. That's why I got
that makes sense too. Yeah, because I do a lot of hiking and stuff, right?
Yes, that's why I got the small one, because my backpack is so big and so heavy now with everything else that I'm carrying, So
yeah,
and we never go out with any firearms. I will not allow anybody to bring any firearms with us. I mean, I know we go out with 18-inch machetes and 10-inch survival knives, pepper spray, maybe a flare gun. But I mean, those are for the bears and the cougars and the wolves and stuff like that. Never any firearms. I just won't allow it. I won't allow it.
Well, I wouldn't suggest people get stupid and whatever and, like just go out and be unprepared. But when I'm out there, generally, and I've been told this, shown this, by actual example or whatever, that they are watching out for me and taking care of me, kind of thing. Like they will watch over you out there and protect you. So I do feel a great sense of, this is my own family clan though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
like for instance, I was building a fire one time and I was thinking, and I was right out in the open. Because when I'm like you, I'm a minimalist. When I go camping, sometimes I don't even take a tent. I just take a mattress if it's summer, and I'll just lay right out in there. And I'm thinking, geez, this is bear season. They're starting to come out. And that thought came to my head. And then all of a sudden it was, we're protecting you, or something of that nature came in. They told me we're protecting you. And then I suddenly got just this beautiful feeling of comfort. Like, I'm in no danger. They're watching out for me. So
when I found the sacred site, the only way I found it is because the woods was burnt out, and I seen what looked like a rock cairn up on the mountain. So I ran up to this. I zoomed in with the camera, and I seen this cairn. So I said, "Cairn, however you pronounce it." And I ran up to it. My camera guy was like, "How are we going to get there?" Go follow me. And I just ran through all the burnt brush and everything, and I got to the top. And we found this giant plateau with giant megalithic stones set up in a circle with hundreds of little stones on top of them. Yeah. And once we got up there, the whole energy changed. And then there was the X's and the arches and the bends and the twists. And we're filming all of this stuff. And we sat down, and I remember, and there's a high ridge line to our west. And I was like, okay, we're never going to go up on that ridge line, and we're never going to go beyond that ridge, because that's their home range. And when we're here, they come up to that ridge and they come out and watch us because they know we're there. And I was sitting there one time with a bunch of people, and, when you're in 5 miles deep into the woods at night and it's got all this, leaf cover and everything, it's dark, and all we have are headlamps, but I don't even use those. I'll put glow sticks down on the ground for ambient light. And I remember telling one of the people I was with, I was like, "You see this arch right here?" I said, "I can put a sleeping bag down under this arch and go to sleep and not worry about anything ever bothering me." Because the feeling I get when I'm at the sacred site is this euphoric feeling, like it's just beyond words. You know what I mean? So euphoric.
Yeah.
And people are like, "You mean you could sleep out here in the woods without a tent?" And I'm like, "Yes, at this location I can, and not worry about anything bothering me." Yes.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you some of my stories about like how they protected me and whatever, but that's for like just a private talk or whatever.
Absolutely.
But,
I agree. 100%,
but yeah, but they watch out. They watch out for us for sure. If you're family, they take care of you.
Yeah. No, I've had my psychic tell me on more than one occasions that, don't worry about anything when you get out there because they got your back, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I even got rescued out of the woods when I got lost one time, and that's quite a story too. And it was
that's a great story.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing story. But I've told it times. This is your show.
I'm all ears.
But if you want to make a comment or ask some questions too, it's a conversation too, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt, man.
Yeah.
If something comes up. But so you were saying when you had that
awakening,
and you were in space, you got the sense of the past, the present, and the future are all
happening at the same time.
all happening simultaneously.
Yes.
Well, that's my experience with the I'm getting here we go again. Zap.
Mr.
My
Zap.
experience with the Sasquatch people is that they have that ability too, because I can't remember how many times I've gone someplace and they already know I'm going to be there before I get there. They know 5 years in some cases, things that I'm going to come up with. I'm going to come up with a conclusion or an idea, and they've already know years before, and they've proven it to me. So they don't have linear time.
No,
so they're kind of like in that realm of like, fifth, whatever dimension where time doesn't exist.
Yes. Yeah, I always believe that, time was a man-made construct. There's time doesn't exist in other dimensions, That's just my own personal opinion. Like this, I've always said that our physics, people say, well, how do these UFOs do all this, these acrobatic maneuvers? It goes against the laws of physics. And I said, what makes you think our laws of physics apply to them?
Yeah,
they're not from here. Why would it apply to them? I don't know. That's just the way I think. Like I said, I've never had any fear of death. I've always looked forward to it, and I just, I'm the kind of guy who sees the glass half full. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my outlook in life. I never see it half empty. I always look for the light in all the bad things that ever happened to me. My car breaks down, you know what I mean? Well, it broke down in the driveway and not in the middle of the highway somewhere, you know what I mean? I always put a spin on it like that, like a good spin, This could have happened here, instead it happened, right in my driveway. If I'm going to get stuck anywhere, at least I'm stuck at home, So I always look at things. I always look at the bright side of everything, That's just the way God made me,
Even with all the things going on today, there's a bright side because, in my opinion, things are so nefarious, the agendas and all the stuff going on today, that if it wasn't being presented and shoved in our face, we might just be going along like everything was normal or whatever. So
absolutely,
it's actually an exciting time to live.
Yeah,
it's an exciting time.
It's a scary time too. Yeah.
Well, but if you don't have any fear, then it's exciting, actually. Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of saying what you're saying. You look at it from a positive viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right?
I always look at the bright side of things. Yeah. And I always see the glass half full. Like my partner, he always sees the glass half empty. My wife is the same way. My wife sees the glass half empty. She never sees the bright side of anything. He's like, oh, now this has got to happen. Or now that's got to happen. I was like, well, okay, it happened. So it happened. But, consider where or how it happened, That's the way I look at things.
Do you want to tell us about maybe your first experiences, how you got acquainted with the Sasquatch people, and maybe some of your favorite pearls of wisdom, and as far as your experiences and your thoughts on them? And
well, my first experience was when I was 12 years old. It happened down in South Florida. Was a very scary experience. I was my cousin and I were my parents used to send me down to Florida to live with my sister during the summer. It was my summer camp, and her husband was an ex-Marine, owned an Italian restaurant down there. We were in a little town down in South Florida called Davie. It was the biggest thing that happened there was the rodeo on the 4th of July, dirt roads. And she lived on the outskirts along the Everglades. And it was that summer, there was a lot of fires in the Everglades. A lot of the animals were being drawn in. There were a lot of Bigfoot sightings, skunk ape sightings all over the place. They were always in the news. State troopers, county police, town police, just constantly. You would read about it in the newspaper. You hear it on the radio. You'd see it on the news reports. And one night, my cousin and I were sleeping. We went to bed. The first night we experienced something. we were up watching like Don Kirshner's rock concert. Okay, that's how long ago this was. It was wee hours in the morning, and my sister had 2 giant German shepherds, and all of a sudden, for no reason, the dogs started to go crazy. So I took the dogs, I put them in the garage so they won't wake everybody up in the house, and we smelled this horrible smell go past the house. It was just, you couldn't even describe it. Skunk, urine, body odor. It was just horrible, And in the morning, we told my brother-in-law and my sister about it. I said, we had to put the dogs in the garage because they were going crazy, and we got this terrible smell. And my brother-in-law said, "Oh, that's the skunk ape. It always comes around this time of year. It was early July." And I was like, "Skunk ape? What the hell's a skunk ape?" And my sister's like, "Oh, that's like the Bigfoot. That's the Bigfoot version, the Florida version of Bigfoot." So I'm like, okay. And I thought my brother-in-law and my sister were pulling our legs. You know what I mean? We're 2 kids from the city in New York, And so we went out that night. We hung out in the woods, and we ride dirt bikes in the woods. We take horseback. We go horseback riding in the woods, and that we go into the woods every night. We'd have bonfires and have a couple of beers, smoke a bong, and we would be in the woods. And I started talking to all the local guys. So it's like, you guys ever hear of the skunk ape? And they're like, "Oh yeah, it comes around, every year, like it's no big deal." I'm like, okay, maybe this thing is true, So a couple of nights go by, and my cousin and I go back. My sister had a sunroom with a pull-out couch. We were sleeping in the sunroom, which was in the front of the house, circular driveway, fountain in the middle, so central lights all around the house. She had a 6-foot fence that went around the front of the house and the back of the house, but not the actual front. That front was open, so you could just pull in. It wasn't gated. And so one night we're sleeping, we're going to bed, and the central lights go on, and this giant shadow goes across the wall in front of us. It's humongous, So I roll out of bed, and I do like a belly crawl to the window, an army crawl, and I peek out the shade, and out in the middle of the driveway is this 9-foot creature that looked like King Kong to me, And I'm like, oh my God. And I can't believe what I'm looking at. And then, hindsight being 2020, at the time, I thought it seen me peeking out of the bottom of the window, but it must have seen its own reflection in the glass. And it did like this incredible Hulk flex and scream. I mean, this thing was just scary, which made paralyzed my cousin to scream. So then it kind of started walking off to the side of the house. And I pulled my cousin out of the bed, and I was like, "Come on, man, we got to check this thing out." And we ran into a bathroom that was between the kids' rooms. It had a black screen on it. The windows were tinted. We had the light off in the bathroom. We were looking at it and it was walking along the fence line. And the reason I think it was 9 feet tall is because it was head and shoulders above a 6-foot fence. And it's walking along the fence line, and it's like looking at us, like it can see us through that window, And we're looking at it, and it stops. Right next to our house was a empty lot that grew. There were wild watermelons growing in it. Picked up a wild watermelon, took a giant bite out of it, basically ate the whole thing in one bite, dropped it, and continued to walk along the fence lines. So we ran out of the bathroom. We ran to the back of the house. We're in the screened-in patio. Again, everything is pitch black. As soon as it passes the back of the house, the central lights go on. It goes to the back of the house. The house behind us had a man-made lake. Squats down, and with one hand starts drinking the water out of the man-made lake. But it's still looking in our direction, like it can see us in the darkness, And it squats down, it drinks the water, and then it goes off into the woods where we ride our dirt bikes and stuff. And it just starts going off, screaming in the woods, blood-curdling screams that just scared the living daylights out of it, just paralyzed you, So Next morning, we tell my sister, what we've seen, what we've heard, this, that, and the other thing. So my brother-in-law says, come on, let's go around the side where it walked, see if there's any footprints. Well, there were like 18-inch footprints in the sand. So my brother-in-law says, okay, I'm going to come home from lunch and we're going to cast these and I'm going to put them up on my bar, And we said, okay. The restaurant got busy. He never came home. The horse rancher down the street would do horse tours in the woods, and they would go right by our house. So they went over the footprints and destroyed them. Couple of nights go by, and we're all, every night we'd wait for my brother-in-law to come home from the restaurant because he would always bring home a couple of pizzas for us, and it would be like our midnight snack. And my brother-in-law came home with a couple of pies, and we're sitting in the patio, and he's like, any action tonight? Like, nope, no action tonight. Very quiet. And we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden we hear boom, boom, boom. And we run to the side of the house, and you can see muzzle flash going off to our south. I would say it was northeast. There was a horse rancher. Okay, this guy we'd work at the ranch during the day, shoveling shit to make a few dollars to get beer and stuff. And sometimes we would take tours out in the Everglades. Well, if he didn't have somebody to take the riders out, because we hung out with his son. His son was like a good friend of ours. The horses knew where they were going anyway. You know what I mean? So once we got onto the bridle path, the horses would just go all the way around. So we were there. We run over it, and we see this muzzle flash, and 2-3 times, so like a 30-30 going off. And so my brother-in-law says, jump on your dirt bikes, go over and see what's going on. So we jump on our dirt bikes, we go over and see what's going on, We know all the kids in the neighborhood because we go there every summer, And so we're talking to the kid, and we said, what happened? What happened? He says, his father had just brought this wild Mustang, or I don't know what it was, from like Wyoming or Montana, and he couldn't put it in the corral with the rest of the horses because it would kick and it would make all the other horses a nervous wreck. So he would leave it. He couldn't put it in the pen. He would leave it in the corral outside. And he had a Native American Seminole Indian come every day and work the horse to try to break it. Well, anyway, this horse was out in the corral, and this 9-foot creature snuck up on it and grabbed it from its hind quarters. And when it grabbed it from its hind quarters, I guess the horse kicked out. And when the horse kicked out, the farmer heard the rancher heard all the commotion. He came out shooting with his gun. And the horse jumped the corral, ran into the pasture. Once he got into the pasture, the skunk ape couldn't catch him anymore. And he took off and he ran. The skunk ape ran into the Everglades. Okay. So that was a pretty wild night. The next day, the Native American came, the Seminole Indian came, he got the horse out of the pasture and he brought it back to the corral. And when he brought it into the corral, the horse had fingerprints on its hind quarters. Like if I was to grab you by your wrist and squeeze you real tight, that's the kind of marks it had on it. Not claw marks, but fingerprints, And the sheriff was like, I've never seen anything like this before. This is crazy. And he said that we're going to have to start picking up the patrol in the neighborhood, because the neighborhood was like one giant square, and it was like, I don't know, it was like a 2-mile square, and they were developing all these houses, and there was a lot of homes that weren't there at the time, And like I said, there was a cattle rancher to our south and a horse rancher to our right, and so that happened. And I used to jog that day every day. I used to jog that square, just to try to stay in shape, because again, I was into martial arts and all of that stuff. And my cousin was a weightlifter. He didn't run. So I would be running and running and running. And when I would run past the house, the cattle rancher's house, he had like a Brahma bull, this white Brahma bull with the hump in its back. I mean, this bull was a monster. It was like the size of a Volkswagen Bug. Okay. And one day I happened to be jogging by, and a lady was coming home with her groceries. She hit her automatic gate opener so she could drive into her driveway. And she had a giant St. Bernard. The dog was like Cujo, was like insane, right? And his dog is chasing me down the street, and he's gaining on me. And there's only one place for me to go, over this 4-foot fence into the pasture. So I jump over the fence to get away from Cujo. And there's this Brahma bull staring at me like, what the hell are you doing? You know? So I kind of used the cows as a buffer between me and the bull so I could get out of the corral. So the lady called her dog back. So, you know, this bull was a monster. It was just a monster. And so I tell my cousin what happened, yada, yada, yada. This guy didn't really like us anyway, because he lived on a turn. When we would come around with our dirt bikes, we would have to go up on his lawn and rip up his grass because of all the gravel. We would take the turn so fast that if we didn't do that, we'd go down. So my brother-in-law was constantly buying sod for him, you know, to make him happy because we were tearing up his lawn. And so one night, my brother-in-law and my sister have friends coming down from New York, and they're taking them out to dinner. I don't know if they're going to Fort Lauderdale, Miami, wherever they were going. And me and my cousin Anthony were babysitting the kids. And they came home around 1 o'clock in the morning. And of course, as soon as the car pulled into the driveway, the dogs go crazy. So we let them out so they would stop barking. They won't wake the kids. And my brother-in-law says to me, you know, any action tonight? And we're like, nope, quiet as a mouse. And no sooner than we say that, we hear this horrific scream. I don't know what to call it, a cry, a scream. I don't know what it was, but it was blood curdling. Okay. And then we heard a double barrel shotgun go off. Boom. Coming from the cattle rancher's house. So my brother-in-law says, jump in the car. Let's go see what's going on. My sister runs in the house with the dogs, and my cousin jumped in the shotgun. I'm in the back seat, but I'm hanging out of the sunroof because it was a brand new Lincoln Continental, like Mark IV or something. I don't know what it was. I'm hanging out of the sunroof. And as we come out of our neighborhood, deputy's car is going by real slow. So we get stuck behind the deputy's car, and we can see the sheriff's car at the other end of the development, like 2 miles away. He's coming down the other end, and the deputy's going real slow, and he's got his spotlight, and he's looking to his left into the woods where the Everglades is, looking for, you know, just patrolling. And this creature comes running out of the darkness from his right, and he hits it. And when he hits this creature, the creature goes down, and it takes down this stop sign or some kind of school bus sign. And we stop behind the deputy, and the creature gets back up, and it walks over to the deputy's car, and it looks right into the car. Now my brother-in-law hits it with the high beam, and I'm looking right at it. We're maybe 15 feet behind it, you know, and I'm looking right at it, and it screams at this deputy, and it does like a hammer punch on the front of the deputy's car, and the whole back of the car comes off the ground, and then it limps off into the swamp. At this point, the sheriff is coming around the corner, and he sees the car like just in pieces in the middle of the road. He's like, what happened? And he said, oh, the creature ran out of the darkness. I hit it with the car. And the sheriff is like, why didn't you shoot it? Because back then they had the shotguns in between them, you know, it wasn't in the trunk. And he's like, why didn't you shoot it? And the deputy was like, no, it's too big to shoot. I couldn't shoot that thing, you know, it was a monster. And so we're standing there. So now the sheriff is taking our eyewitness report, because we've seen everything, because I guess they got to tell the insurance company what happened, you know. And as we're talking to the sheriff, giving him the report, the accident report, the cattle rancher comes racing up in his truck, and he says, Sheriff, you got to come to my pasture. You got to see what that damn skunk ape did to my bull, my prize bull. And I'm like, what could that thing have done to that bull? The bull was a monster, you know. So the sheriff goes back with the cattle rancher. We follow the sheriff. We go back, and the sheriff is scanning the pasture with his spotlight, and there's the bull in the middle of the pasture with no head, bleeding out. So then he goes further, and 100 yards down in the pasture is the bull's head. I mean, this creature just ripped the head off of this bull and threw it away to get it. I mean, it was just mind-boggling, just mind-boggling that something could be that powerful to stop like a 1,500-pound Brahma bull. I mean, it was like my mind. When you see, like I tell people, when you see these creatures for the first time, your brain can't comprehend what your eyes are seeing. You know, you just can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't comprehend what the hell was going on. And then they came with the state police, came with helicopters and dogs and horses and all kinds of stuff. And they searched the Everglades high and low, but they never found anything. And we kind of thought that the next day there would be tons of reporters around looking for eyewitnesses and stuff. We were going to get in the newspaper or on TV. But for some reason, that was all squashed, like nothing ever happened, you know? And I was lucky enough to run into this woman, Ree Meredith, I think her name is. Her father she lived in the next town over, and her father had a business in Davie. And she was like my age at the time, 12. And she read all the same stuff I read, the reports. And she was the one who actually took my report for the BFRO in South Florida and put it in the Skunk Ape Museum. And her uncle was a sheriff in the next town over called New City. And he had a whole book of reports for that year, like unofficial reports that they would take. Like they would get calls for peeping Toms. They would, like, some lady would call, say there's a large black man looking in my window. Now you got to remember, this is 1974. It's a different time down in South Florida. And the cops would go there and they would
lived in Miami that whole time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
And
not much activity, but they're out there.
Oh yeah. But the cops would see the skunk ape run and jump into the water and swim away. And so that was my very first experiences with this skunk ape or the Sasquatch people or whatever. And, you know, this thing was not a happy camper. And I believe the reason why it was not a happy camper is because the Everglades, there was a heat wave that year. The Everglades were on fire and it drove everything inland. And I don't think it wanted to be where it was, you know? So it was just crazy. I mean, just crazy.
9 feet. Nine feet is quite big for
a hard place to live. It's not an easy place for a Sasquatch.
Oh no, the Everglades.
It's not like there's a lot of little alligators and garfish and stuff like that, but there's not a whole lot of stuff out there.
9 feet. You know what? 9 feet's pretty big for a skunk ape. I usually hear them described as like 7, 6, 7.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a part where we used to go hang out and have the bonfires and stuff. The swamp came in, right? There was an inlet there for the swamp. And the kids called it the turnaround because the water would come in, turn around and go back out. And they would go swimming in there. And I would say, you people are out of your minds. There's alligators in here, water moccasins, you know? And I was like, no, the alligators don't come down the turnaround. I'm like, what are you talking about? They don't come in a turnaround. Me and my cousin fish there every day. There's fish, there's frogs, there's turtles. Of course, the alligators are coming in here. There's tons of food. And they were like, no, the alligators don't come in there. So one day, my cousin and Anthony and I are fishing, and sure as shit, there's an alligator floating on the water, sunning himself. He ends up in the turnaround. Well, this alligator wakes up and see where he's at, and he basically runs on the top of the water. He can't get out of there fast enough. He can't get out of there fast enough. And the friend of mine, he believed that the skunk apes had caverns in the swamp. And that's why once they got in there, the police, the authorities could never find them. So he wanted to find these caverns. And he says to me, I'm going to swim in between the cattails looking for caverns. If I find one, you're going to come in with me. I was like, I'm not going in that water. You know what I mean? And he's like, so he's swimming around. Finally, he finds an opening. He thinks it's a cavern. And he says, okay, time me. I'm going in. If I'm not back in 5 minutes, drive, because I'm on the dirt bike. He goes, go to my house and get my brothers. Okay. They were a bunch of, they were redneck kids. They were a bunch of wild guys. They never wore shoes or anything like that, And he comes He goes in, he says he swims in, and he comes up an underground cavern. This is his story. And he says, there are openings all around, he says, and the smell is horrific, and it's burning his eyes, and he can't see, and he comes out. And when he comes out, he stinks like a skunk ape. He's got that same stink channel. And he's bouncing off a wall 100 miles an hour. And he's like, you got to come with me. You got to come with me. I need a witness. I need a witness. I'm like, dude, I'm not going with you. I mean, think about it. If your father wakes up in the middle of the night to go take a piss and somebody's in his house, your father's going to kill him. What do you think these creatures are going to do to you if you pop up out of the water and they happen to be coming out? They're going to pop your head off like a coconut, you know? And he's like, Al, you gotta believe me. And I was like, listen, I believe you, because this kid, he wasn't acting. He was bouncing off the wall 100 miles an hour. And then he says to me, after he calms down, his adrenaline calms down, he says, look, you got to do me a favor. And I was like, what? He goes, you got to take this to your grave. He goes, we can't tell anybody about this, because if the authorities find out about this, he said, they're going to.
What?
They're going to disappear. I guess we just lost our connection.
Well, this guy's fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
Florida, South Florida, like that is amazing, because when you think of the skunk ape, you think about the Everglades. That's like, but there's where the Everglades ends is where Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and all that stuff goes all the way up. But there's a corridor in there that goes all the way up into Georgia. You know, so it's not just the skunk apes that we talk about. They're the ones that are like 6 feet or even 5 foot under 6 feet.
Right.
They're the ones who live really out in the Everglades. But there's the big standard size Sasquatch. They live all the way up to Orlando and all the way up into Georgia. So it's a mix there. So it's entirely possible that he was, you know, experiencing a standard size Sasquatch.
Oh, I totally believe everything he said. I'm just saying, for the
putting
actual
things
skunk
together.
ape descriptions, it seemed a bit large. Or I mean, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but it seemed larger than the usual description. Very cool.
So it probably wasn't a skunk ape. It was probably just a regular Sasquatch.
Could be, yeah. Hello, my friend.
Oh, they come back. There you go.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, after he's settled down, sorry, somebody called me and knocked me out of the box. After his adrenaline calmed down, he says, you got to do me a favor. You got to take this to the grave, because I don't want the authorities coming here and caving in all these caverns and blowing them up and killing these creatures. You know, he says they just, like any other animal in the forest, they just want to live a life by themselves. They don't want to be bothered with anybody. And I was like, listen, I'll take it to the grave. I won't tell anybody. I mean, I didn't tell anybody about that experience like till 40 years later. You know what I mean? Because because my cousin said to me, when we were in a plane coming back from Florida, I said, boy, I can't wait to tell my brother, because he was an investigator, right? And he goes, oh, you can't tell your brother. So why not? He says, because then everybody's going to think we're crazy, and everybody's going to make fun of us, you know? And he says, if people make fun of me because of you, I'm going to kick your ass. And he goes, oh, my older cousin, he was 15, I was 12, and he beat my ass a lot. You know what I mean? He was more like a brother to me because we were so close in age. But I said, I can't tell my brother because you can't tell your brother. He says, then, you know, the way my family shows love is by breaking your chops so you can't take it anymore, you know? And my cousin's like, I don't want to deal with that. So, I mean, I told my 2 best friends, but I never told my brother about it till like 40 years later. And he was like, you know, why didn't you tell me? So then he went and he reached out to my sister, because my cousin and my brother had both passed by then. And he reached out to my sister and he said, is this actually, did it actually happen? Is this true? And she's like, oh yeah, that was a crazy summer in South Florida that year, you know? So, I mean, that was my first experience. So when I came back to New York, my bedroom was like a prison cell. It was like 4 by 6, you know?
Yeah.
It was actually a porch in the front. My father was a carpenter and he sealed it off and he made a bedroom out of it. But I had a big picture window in it. And if the Sasquatch reached through that picture window, he could have reached me no matter how far I was on the other side. Even though this happened in Florida, I couldn't sleep for like 2 years when I got back to New York. You know what I mean? At night would freak me out. Yeah.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about that first incident. So
Yeah.
did you, first of all, I have an idea what might have happened to that bull. You know, the Sasquatch can zap you and kind of like, they can freeze you right in place, basically. I've never really had a bad experience with them, but one time they hit my friend and I up a little bit too much, and we were like literally crawling on our hands and knees on the forest floor. And you know, sometimes you feel like you're walking through a force field or whatever. So speculatively, they might have disabled this Brahma bull before they ripped the head off. That's a distinct possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't fathom it. Absolutely, yeah, no. I mean, I've been zapped too. I've gotten hit with the infrasound a couple of times where I was disoriented and I was going the wrong way, and I caught myself not once but twice going the wrong way at the same time. And a friend of mine who was going somewhere he shouldn't have been going, and I told him not to go there. They hit him with such a powerful thing that it was like a blue flash. We've seen like a blue flash, and then his knees buckled. And if I wasn't standing behind him, he would have went down and hit his head on the rocks or the trees on the ground, you know, the logs on the ground. But I mean, I said, don't go that way. I'm telling you, got a bad feeling. We're not supposed to go that way. Don't go. Oh no, I got to see what's over here. I was like, don't do it. And the whole time I'm standing behind him saying, don't do it, don't do it. And then he got zapped, and man, his knees just buckled and he went back. But I caught him, you know, and I sat him down and I gave him some water, and we sat there for like 15 minutes. I said, I told you not to go that way. I said, now can we go this way? And he was like, I'm sorry, Al, I should have listened to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what year was this Florida?
1974.
And so have you had any updates? Is that Sasquatch person or skunk ape or whatever you want to call it? Is it still hanging around, or was it just because of the?
No, I think that thing, as soon as the fires in the swamps were put out, I think it went back to where it was happy. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't think it was happy being that close to people. You know, I think who knows? It may have even lost its loved ones in the fire that made it so mad. You know what I mean? Because this guy was not a happy camper. He was not a happy camper.
And the other thing is how close a look did you actually have of it? Could you see facial features?
I see everything. Like? Yeah.
Describe his facial features in this overall build. Was it
okay?
Like human or?
No, it was more monkeyish, I would say. It had the conical head, the hair on its body, with the sensor lights hitting it, had like a red tint to it. It was like reddish, but like if the lights weren't on, it would have looked black, you know. The face was leathery. It had hair on the sides, but didn't have a goatee. It was leathery. It was like almost oily, kind of black, oily kind of skin, you know. It had canines. When it screamed, you could see the canines. It had canines. It was big, broad at the shoulders. I would say 4 feet wide at the shoulders.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in a V shape. It was more like straight, but massive. You know what I mean? Like the chest stuck out further than the stomach, but it wasn't like in a V. It was just straight and thick. It looked as thick as it was wide, you know? Yeah. And its arms were humongous, and they hung down past his knees, and he was just not a happy camper, you know. And like I said, I don't know. Well, you know, people have told me that the reason they go up behind these horses is to have sex with them. I don't know how true that is. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't find that out till years later. As far as, you know, it killing the bull, again, I don't know. I don't I don't know if it was trying to get like a calf or something like that, but none of the cows or the calves were taken. But it did kill the bull. I do know when we got back from Florida about a week or two later, on the other side of the canal, my brother-in-law Joe's friend Ralph, he had a farm too with some horses on it, and the creature did kill one of his ponies, and he was taking it. He had the pony like over his shoulder and was taking it away when he heard all the commotion. Ralph heard all the commotion. Of course, he went out, and back then everybody had guns on. I mean, everybody had guns on the back of their pickup trucks. Everybody had 3 guns. It was a 30-30, a 30-06, and a 12 gauge. Every single pickup truck had that on it, and I'm sure Ralph came out and took a couple of shots at it. It dropped the pony, and it ran into, and they got a Native American Seminole Indian, and they ran up a posse, and they went out on horses looking for it. But again, and it must have stepped on a nail when it broke into the corral or something, because it was leaving a bloody footprint. So they followed the bloody footprint right up into the swamp, and then once it got to the swamp, it was gone. So I guess it was taking the pony for food. I don't know, but as far as the wild Mustang, I don't know what it was doing with the Mustang.
So what's your opinion of because a lot of the ones that I encounter up here, they're more human-like, and some people say ancient ones or whatever, which I do believe because of their wisdom and their teachings or whatever. They are a very evolved being. So what do you think is the difference between the ones that look like that you would maybe call ancient ones, if you heard that description, and more human-like, and some of the more ape-like ones?
I just think it's like what's the word I'm looking for? Just different breeds. Other older breeds have developed more, a higher consciousness. Maybe this particular breed is at a lower level of lower vibration, more, animalistic vibration. I don't know. I've got a photograph. I'll send you. I caught a picture of one totally by accident. I was just taking photographs. I was doing like photographs every hour on the hour, and we caught a lot of little orbs with faces in it. But underneath one of these trees, I caught a Sasquatch watching us, and he had a head that was humongous. It was like almost like a lion's mane. I mean, his head is big. It's like, it's not a small little head. It's not conical. It looks, people have described it to look like almost like a lion's head, but it's definitely a Sasquatch. And I'll send it to you. And I don't know if that was the alpha of the clan that I associate. Like I always say, they tolerate me. You know what I mean? I go there and they never bother me. I mean, yeah, they'll throw pebbles at us, but they never hit us. Like we could set up a circle around us with glow sticks, and they'll throw pebbles at us, and none of those pebbles will land inside those glow sticks.
Well, I've got an opinion on that. When they throw a lot of pebbles at me and whatever, and usually I'll get an energy feeling that they're around before they do it. And to me, it's just a hello, we're here.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't take that as being aggressive. When they want us to leave the sacred site, like if they're ready to go hunting or whatever they're going to do, if they want us to leave, they'll let us know. Like I had one time I was there with a couple of ghost hunters, and they were freaking out because they heard them come in and surround us. And I told them to relax, because if I can feel your anxiety, they can feel your anxiety, and we don't want to make them nervous, And at one point, I guess they wanted us to leave, and one of them grabbed like a fresh branch and just ripped it off a tree. And it sounded like a 30-06 going off by your ear, bang. And I was like, okay, now it's time for us to leave. They want us out of here, I won't push it when it gets to that point, but I won't leave either if they're just throwing pebbles at us and stuff. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I've had one come up behind me. I believe it was a scout, He came. There was a friend of mine who was sitting there. It was a Alphabet agency guy, right? He said, "Al, take me out. I want to see one of these creatures." I said, "Okay, but you got to leave your gun at home, you know." And he came out and he had night vision goggles on, and he was standing, and we were. I was facing south, he was facing north, and we had one come down. I think it was like a juvenile, a teenager, you know, like a 7-footer. And he came down and he seen it peek out from behind a tree and look at me. He said, then every time he put the goggles up, the creature, the Sasquatch was closer and closer. Next time it was behind the bush. He said, then the third time he put it up, he said, the thing was right behind me. He said, Al, he was freaking out. It's like, Al, you know, it can grab you. It's right behind you. And I'm like, relax. We're at the sacred site. Nothing is going to happen to us here. He said, he's just a scout. He just wants to know what we're doing here because we're at the sacred site. You have to calm down. Nothing's going to happen to you. Nothing's going to happen to me. We're okay. And so then I got up and I, you know, tried to casually to turn my camera to film it, you know, because I'm trying to do research. And as soon as I turned that camera around, boom, he was gone. Yeah. But like I said, when I'm at the sacred site or I'm at any of my locations that I have going with these creatures or people or whatever you want to call them, I don't get the feeling of dread, you know? I get the feeling of euphoria, you know? I do. And I try to relay that to the people that I bring out there because I only want to bring people out there with me who's got good intentions, you know, and has a good heart, true of heart, you know. I don't want to bring anything. That's why I have the psychic read everybody. I don't want to bring anybody out there that they don't want out there, you know. So
yeah, I know that euphoria feeling. Sometimes it's so strong it'll hit you up. You just start weeping uncontrollably. At least I do because it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's
really
a beautiful feeling.
So hard to describe.
Yeah,
and you know, and when you feel that feeling and that love and that welcome, you know, how can you fear these?
No, I don't have any fear. Like,
you know,
my cousins think I'm out of my mind going into the woods and, you know, 7 miles into the woods in the pitch black, you know, and just sitting there unarmed and, you know, trying to make contact with these Sasquatch people and stuff like that. And I was like, because you don't understand where I'm coming from. We're coming from two different places, you know.
Yeah,
you have fear in your mind already just thinking about it, you know. I'm looking forward to it.
I do the same thing. It's a trust between you and them, and you can tell by their energy that they don't mean us any harm, right? What do you want, Pete?
I just want to ask Al if you've had most of your contacts in the woods and around, but have they ever come to your house or done stuff to your house or been around your house or in your house or, you know, in your yard and stuff like that you found traces and tracks?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I found footprints in my yard. I've found sticks in between trees that are, you know, impossible to fall that way, like almost directional markers, you know. I found quartz crystal stones. I have a red brick fire pit. I found quartz crystal stones on the fire pit. Sometimes I could hear them coming through because we have a lot of deer that migrate through my yard. You know, I'm upstate New York, so we have a lot of wilderness up here, and sometimes you can hear them coming through, following the deer. You know, the herds of deer. Sometimes I have, like, behind my house, I have like 100 acres of woods, and then directly across the street, I have like another 100 acres of wetland. And sometimes you can hear them like going off in the wetlands. Like you'll hear a whoop here and a whoop here, like a triangulation kind of thing, you know. You could hear them walk through the backyard sometimes. Yeah. I've never had them knock on the door or look in the window, but
well, I live in Savannah, and sometimes they throw rocks on my roof or they leave me little gifts and stuff. So that's just to let me know that they're around, even though I don't go in the woods much.
No, I find glyphs in the yard. You know what I mean? Like that you would need opposable thumbs to make, you know? So when I see that, I'll take a photograph of it. And when I see those sticks in the trees, like, you know, I'll take photographs of it because, you know, you want to debunk it. Say, you know, did a branch fall off to one of the other trees and land like this? But it's impossible for stuff to fall that way, you know. Like again, when quartz crystal stones show up on the whatchamacallit, on the fire pit, no one is walking through my yard in the middle of the night and putting the quartz crystal stone on my fire pit. You know, where I live upstate, everybody is armed. You know what I mean? Everybody's got guns. You know, you're not walking into somebody's backyard. You know, God forbid somebody walks in your yard and jiggles your door. They're gonna probably get shot up here. You know, so.
Do you mentioned glyphs? That's one of my big things. That was one of the first things they introduced me to. Do you communicate with them through the glyphs, or do you understand any of them?
I don't understand the glyphs. I wish I found so many different glyphs in so many different locations. And I would love, this is why I'm trying, now that I had my ascension, to get back to the sacred site. These are all the questions I have for them. What do they mean?
Can I offer you a suggestion?
Absolutely.
And it's actually worked with some other people that I suggested it to. Like, leave a glyph, and they'll know your intention, as you know, that they'll read your thoughts. They'll know your intention. Just leave a glyph that signifies you and say, this is me. This is my signature, because the Sasquatch that I know, they all have their own personal signatures.
Okay.
So leave a glyph in your yard, say, this is me, and then just see if they interact with you. It's very possible they could start changing it around, and yeah, and that's how it works.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will definitely do that. I don't think they're in the area right now, though. I don't feel like anybody's around right now.
But leaving the glyph might bring them around.
That's true too.
Because you know that they'll know you did it. Just, you know, whatever, like just leave an A or something for Alfred and say, this is
that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
This is me.
I'm gonna leave an A for Al.
They're interdimensional, so it's not a big deal for them to come invisibly and just move a little stick. So they don't have to come.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Physically. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I have this juvenile, and it's not only him. I've done it with a lot of them, but I will leave, like, I can read some of their language, like some of the complex stuff, like, and I'll leave a message for them, and they'll come and they'll change it around, leave one for me, and we'll keep going back and forth. And they understand what I'm saying, and I understand what they're saying. So it's something that I want. No, seriously. So it's
I want. Believe me, that's where I want to be. You know what I mean? That's where I want to be able to communicate and read their language, and then communicate with them, and just learn so much more. You know, I want to learn so much more.
I think, you know, I hate the word levels and stuff, because it's kind of a competitive kind of word, and makes people feel bad, like, you know, but at the place where you're at right now, I don't think you would have any problem interacting with them back and forth. If you put your intention out, I think it would work well for you.
That's why I say intent is a very big thing. You know, like when I got that message, The Secret of the Universe, when I tell everybody else, I always throw intent in there as well, you know? So I think intention is a big thing with every aspect of the universe, you know, whether you're dealing with ghosts, UFOs, Sasquatch people, or interdimensional people, just in general, you know, it's all about your intent.
Yeah. Like I said, just leave an A out there, whatever you want, and say, hi, this is me. Would you like to connect with me and communicate with me? I'm very open to that. And I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if you're going to see significant changes to it, because that's what happened to me. And like, it's dramatic.
Yeah. I had a thing going 2 summers ago. Yeah. I think it was 2 summers ago, at one of my other locations, where I was getting all kinds of gifts, and I was putting all kinds of stuff out there, and I had so many epiphanies, like I couldn't believe what I was dealing with. Like, they left me a skull of a deer with antlers and everything. I didn't know what that meant. You know I couldn't bring it home because it still had skin on it and everything, and my wife would go crazy, you know, if I brought something like that home. So I left it there, and I was leaving little toys and stuff, you know, and they were I would leave a yellow ball and they would put a yellow ball there. Like, what? Or I would hide like a orange little star. They between these three, they would put up these three logs so you couldn't go up the path, you know? And I would hide one of the stars under the logs, and they would take the star out, put it on top of the log. One time they left me, this was crazy. They left me a turtle shell, an upside down turtle shell with two dead moles in it. I don't know if they were trying to feed me, if that was like a lunch for me or something, you know. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Mr.
You know,
Bean's got a mole story too, a dead mole story.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it was like they put the two dead moles in the turtle shell, like almost like a dish, like, you know, like they were serving them up, you know. And I was doing things with like different color strings and stuff, you know, and they were braiding it, you know. But one of my epiphanies that summer was that they could actually see colors. Like, you know what I mean? If I put something orange there, they would put something orange back. If I put something yellow there, they would put something yellow back, and so on and so forth. And it's just like it dawned on me, like, these Sasquatch people, they see in color. They can see color. I mean, it never dawned on me that they could see color. Like, I know they could see infrared light. You know what I mean? That's why nobody ever gets them on trail cams. I know that. But the thought of them actually seeing different colors like we see just never dawned on me. You know, for some reason, I thought maybe they were like dogs. They see in black and white. But it's like, no, these creatures see in color, because how would they know if I'm leaving something orange, so they would find something orange? And I don't even know where they were getting it from. We're in the middle of the woods, and they must have been taking all these trinkets from people's backyards over the years. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and
I know exactly what you mean.
It's mind-boggling. You know, where are they getting this? Where are they getting these trinkets from? I can go to the dollar store and buy them. You know what I mean? Where are they getting them from? And every time I left something, they would leave something the same exact color. And that's when it dawned on me, they see in color. They see in color like we do.
Well, I mean, just what you said is exactly the same kind of thing as if you were trying to communicate them through their stick writing or their glyphs. You would leave something, they'll leave you something. Eventually, you'll start to understand what they mean. And you'll start a real communication with them that way. So
they left me a couple of glyphs that summer as well in front of the logs. Like, I felt like when I first stumbled across this trail, you know, like something said, Al, this trail, follow this trail. This is not just a game trail. This is something else. And I found it, and I found a couple of footprints, and I was like, okay, you know. And then but after I found those footprints, I went back, and there was a log in the way. I was like, okay, maybe they don't want me coming up the trail, so I won't go past this point. So then I would leave like a stone, like a quartz crystal stone or something, and it would be next day I go back and it'd be two. And then it turned out they ended up putting like 3 logs there, like a pyramid kind of shape, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm not going past these logs if you don't want me to go. And I found something to me off the trail that looked like a grave. I mean, there was a giant stone that looked like a headstone, and there was hundreds of stones going across it, like on the dirt. And it looked like what we would call like an old fashioned grave from the pioneer days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just, and I took a photograph of it. Something said, take pictures of this because this is important, you know? So I took photographs of that, and we had all this communication going on back and forth. And I was just trying to figure stuff out. Like, what does this mean? I'd go there and there would be a glyph, and it looked like a P, and I would change it and I would make it look like a B, and then I'd come back the next day and it would look like a D, you know?
Oh, so they have been doing that, changing it.
But that was like not at my house. That was at one of my locations, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what it means, you know, like, you know, I keep saying, I gotta get to the sacred spot now that I I've had this ascension. I got to get there, and I got to vibe. I got to meditate, and I got to get into that mental state, and I got to communicate. I wanted that mental telepathy communication. I want that. I don't have to see him up close and personal. I've seen him. I can see him in my mind's eye. That's fine with me. I know they'll show themselves to me when they're ready. But I want that mental telepathy connection. I do. I want it. And that's why I said I'm going to start. I think once I start taking this research deeper, I'm going to probably reel it in, just keep it for myself and not put it out there. Except, like I said, I'll share it with a handful of people that I trust, that are on the same path as I am,
Yeah. So when was the time when you realized that you were dealing with more than, you were scared, obviously, with your first encounter, as you said. When did you start to realize who these people, their abilities and what they really were? Was it when you had your awakening, everything changed, or did you, or
no?
When did you realize that the Sasquatch are more than just Magilla gorilla running around in the woods?
I honestly, I don't remember. There was like not a date on the calendar that I just,
right.
We went out. And I think it was the time when we were doing an investigation out in the woods, and we used the Tibetan singing bowl, and we heard them come over to us. We were on the other side. We were on the east side of the woods. Usually I found the sacred site on the west side, and we hit the woods up with that Tibetan singing bowl, and we heard them come over, and they came over and they did 3 whoops. And we were up on a ridge, about 50 feet up on a ridge, and it was down in the swamp. And when it did the whoops, it vibrated through your chest and your legs. And it just, like, everybody who was with me knew what we were dealing with at that point, And then they did a couple of rock knocks. I did a couple of rock knocks back. Did a tree knock. I did a tree knock. And then I guess it was trying to get us out of the area, because then we heard a couple of other whoops from different directions. And that was the time we happened to be next to the Dogman Den. And I think it was trying to get us out of there. Like, you guys need to leave. You're in a bad spot, because, there may be pups in that den. I don't know. And, you guys may get hurt, and I think it was trying to get us to leave, but I was just hunkered down. I was like, no, I'm not leaving. There's more to come. I kept feeling there was more to come. There's more to come. And then it threw a rock at us, and it went up over the trees. And I don't know how it does these things where you throw a rock 100 feet up over the top of the trees. It lands in between you and it rolls down, and it doesn't hit anybody. And my guys were all ready to go at that point. And I was like, nope, not ready to go yet. There's still more to come at this location. And, then it just kind of like, I guess it got frustrated with us and it left, like, oh, these guys are thick. They don't want to leave, And then we had the Dogman come up and bluff charge us, And that was pretty interesting. But that didn't make me leave either. I still wasn't ready to leave. And then after the woods calmed down, we were going to a second location. We had a UFO involved. That's a whole long story. That's another interview all in itself. But I mean, I think at that point, I knew that these creatures didn't mean any harm to us. And, and I was always one of those guys that always liked to be out in nature. I feel like I belong in nature. I feel close to nature. And when I'm in nature, I feel like I'm in my zone. And there are, when you're out in the woods and you're hiking through the woods, I had a German Shepherd. We did a lot of hiking together. And, when you feel like you're being followed and, something is following you, but you just can't see it. A lot of times I felt like that, being in the woods, like, I know something is shadowing me. And I'm not the type of guy who runs from it. If I think something is shadowing me and I feel it's at a certain location, I'll turn and walk to that location to see what the hell is following me, you know? But, you know, just never actually seen it. I don't know. Just one day just changed my whole look on things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's, do you have something to say, Beans, before I take over?
No, I'm just digging this. You're just such a wealth of information, man. You know, when I hear people like you talk, I think there's never a time when the Sasquatch aren't looking at us or after us. We're always connected.
Yeah.
Always connected. You know, from the time of probably from before you were 10 until now, never once was a day went by when they weren't, no, they didn't recognize you. And that goes with everybody. That's just the way they are.
No, I agree. I agree.
Have you ever been talking to somebody online or something about Sasquatch people, and you can feel them actually listening in? You can feel their energy, like you just know they're listening in.
I would say I get a lot of like high strangeness. I'll be talking to somebody about it. Like my partner Brian and I, when we talk, it's like a conversation like this. Okay, we could talk for hours, and we'll be talking, and we'll be doing. I'll be sitting out at the fire pit, and it's pitch black. I got the fire pit going. I'm just sitting there having a cocktail, and we're talking. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you feel like you're not alone. You know.
Yeah.
And then you hear rustling in the woods, but you know it's not a deer. You know, and
yeah.
And so I say, I'll tell Brian, okay, they're here. You know, they must have heard us talking, because all of a sudden I feel like they're here. But I don't, you know, I don't claim to have the kind of ability to. I just sense stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just shit happens. You know.
Your psychic friend, has she given you any insight into Sasquatch?
She says that they're definitely been here, you know, forever. Native American. She's half Cherokee, and she believes that, you know, that they're people, and they're ancient people, and they've been here for a long time, and they have a lot of abilities, because they've just developed their higher consciousness, and they've raised their frequency and their vibration, and they have a lot of abilities that, you know, we should be able to have, but, you know, because of all the crap that we eat and drink and lead in the water and all that other stuff, it kind of dumbs us down. But she says, you know, she doesn't think that, you know, she never says anything bad about them, you know, but she says, like, I get like us, they could have a bad day, you know. So,
well, if you consider them to be people, which I do.
Yeah, I know.
If you approach anybody from a position of disrespect, you're gonna have a reaction that is not extremely friendly. But but if you go in with the Sasquatch with an open heart and say, I want to meet you, and you respect them, and you don't infringe on their privacy, and you just kind of like treat them like you would visiting a friend, you're going to get a totally different reaction, from my experience.
And I agree. And being Italian and growing up in the city, I'm all about respect. You know what I mean? I always respect everybody, and I expect to get the same respect back from people. Of course, you don't. But these creatures these people tend to show me the same respect I show them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I've only had that one bad experience when I was a kid in Florida. Every other experience I ever had was non-confrontational, was always a good experience. I've always considered a good experience. You know, I know people say, oh, they throw rocks at you, they throw sticks at you, they're being violent. No, they're not being violent. They're not. That's not an aggressive way of there. You know what I mean?
It's how you interpret it. Like I know a guy, he's in camp or whatever, and the little rocks come out and they're just falling in front of him or close. And, automatically he's got his gun out and he's on alert and shooting like left, right, and center where, but when I hear that, I say, good, my friends are here. So it depends on how you interpret it and how you react, right?
Oh, absolutely. God, I can't get a break today. People just keep calling me left and right. But I always
turn your phone off.
I always interpret it. I always interpret it a positive way. I don't think I've ever had an experience out there over the years that I've interpreted negative. Like I said, I've never had them shake a tree to get me to leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've never had them throw a log at me to get me to leave. All they have to do is break a branch, and, a fresh branch that sounds like a gun going off, and I get the message. I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, we've had one experience, which was it was weird. I was in there, like I said, I was in there one time with these ghost hunting ladies, and they were freaking out, and they wanted us to leave. So we left. We left the sacred site. We moved down to the meadow, and we sit at the meadow for a half hour. We discussed. I mean, they were ecstatic. It was on their bucket list, And when they came down and surrounded us, you could hear them walking, boom, boom, boom. These were the big guys. They wanted to make their presence known. When they started throwing pebbles at us, the girls were like so excited. They were scared, but they were excited because they whooped, they whistled, they did all kinds of things to give these girls an experience of a lifetime. When they were ready wanted us to leave, they broke the branch and we left. And as we were walking out the mining road, or walking down a mining road, one of the women is a psychic, and we were at the sacred site. She took off to do just walk around and get a feel for the place. And I was talking to the other woman with my psychic on the phone. And my psychic was telling the woman who was with me how this used to be Native American sacred land. It's a sacred site for the Native Americans. The Sasquatch people believe it's a sacred site. She actually believes that the sacred site is like a burial site for both Native Americans and Sasquatch. And then the other woman comes back and says, I just ran into a Native American woman, and she asked me if she could wait here for her tribe because she's lost. And I told her she could. And I said, absolutely, she could wait here for her tribe, And then we were leaving. As we're leaving, we got 3 of them following us out. They're herding us out, right? When they want us to leave, they herd us out. I call it being herded out. They herd us out. And we got one whooping to my right, one whistling to my left, and one whooping behind us. And one of the women is like, those are just barred owls. And I was like, yeah, they could be barred owls, but I don't believe they are, because we're being herded out. And the woman who was psychic said, we're being followed, right? I go, yeah, we're being herded out. And they want us to leave, but it's not the big guys. It's the juveniles, like the teenagers, right? They're herding us out. It's not the adults. And at one point, the one that was way behind us came racing up. I mean, he must have went 100 yards in a second. And when he got to a certain point, when he got to a point, the other 2 jumped out. Now, all 3 of them were on the mining road. We're about 50 yards ahead of them. And they start doing something I never heard before. They started doing monkey barking, hoo, 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 like that. And the woods are echoing, and you can feel the barking coming down the road and up our legs. And the girls took off running. And I told them, whatever you do, don't run. I was like, you can't outrun these things anyway. Stand your ground. Don't run. Well, they took off running, and I'm trying to get the girls to stop. Don't run. So stay with me. And at first, the vibe I got was the one who came running up said, hey, let's scare the shit out of these ladies. And they started They started, not only did they stop monkey barking, but they started slapping the road with their hands. And you can feel each individual jump up, jump down, land, slap their, and I mean, the woods was just echoing. And I'm thinking, like I said, at first the vibe I got was they were just trying to scare the shit out of the girls. But then the vibe changed and it started to get to a fever pitch and it started to get scary. The vibe I was getting was like, whoa, Al, you got to do something before these guys get out of control. So I was like, I'm the alpha. I'm with these women. I'm the alpha. I got to take charge of the situation. What am I going to do? Well, I got a flare gun. I could shoot the flare gun over their heads to get a look at them because I put my headlamp on. I couldn't see them. So I could shoot the flare gun over the head to get a look at them. Or I could shoot the flare gun on the ground, but it's the fall. I don't want to burn the woods down, and I definitely don't want to burn one of them. You know, that won't work out good for me. So I said, okay, I know what I do. I put my headlamp on, and I pulled out my machete, and I put my machete in the headlamp so they could see the metal shining. And I started walking towards them, and I'm screaming and I'm yelling, "Knock it off! This is not what you were supposed to do. You know what you were supposed to do. You were told to hurt us out. That's all. This is all nonsense. And your parents can hear you from where we are because the woods are echoing, you know? I mean, I know the big guys where the sacred site is a couple miles away could hear them loud and clear and say, what the hell's going on over there? You know what I mean? And as I started walking toward them, yelling at them, screaming at them, telling them to knock it off, they kept backing up. I could never get them in my headlamp. And eventually they must have just turned and ran and went back to the sacred site. And when I got back to the girls, because the girls are screaming out, stop, don't walk towards them, you know, don't leave us here alone. And I was like, don't worry, nothing's going to happen, you know, this is not supposed to happen. So then we turned around and we were walking, and about a quarter mile down the road, the woman who's a psychic says, you know, whatever you did, Al, you scared them off because they're not following us anymore. And I said, no, I put them in their place. They were acting like spoiled children and they needed a timeout. And I put them in their place. I'm the alpha here. You ladies are with me. Now, I don't know if they got sent to the women and they got excited because they were young men, or they were young females and they got it sent to the woman and they were jealous. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not that in tune with them, but I walked them out. Now I had a woman who's like you, psychically connected to them, tell me that they told her they were just trying to scare us, fuck around with us. You know what I mean? It wasn't nothing. I wasn't in danger, but I felt the energy change from just being, you know, being fucked with to being, wait a minute, it's getting a fever pitch here. So I thought they were going to come charging down at us any minute. You know what I mean? And even though these are juveniles, they're still 6 foot tall, you know, 500 pounds, you know, what am I going to do against 3 of them, you know, if they really want these women?
Yeah. You know,
but
a couple interesting things that you said there that brought back stuff for me too. Like my young friend I take out, the guy with the singing bowl. Well, you know, we like to have high energy fun and whatever, because when you're laughing and having fun, that's high vibration. That attracts the Sasquatch. You know, and the reverse deters them. If you're talking about politics and all the stupidity in the world, they're not going to come around. But anyway, so this young guy, he was out there and he's doing monkey calls, you know, like respectfully though. I said, they're not monkeys. You got to respect them. But he was doing it just for fun, you know, back and forth. So he's doing monkey calls all the time. So I just had a gathering just last week, or I was actually, a lady hosted it, but it's in my place and I usually host them, but I was there. And this guy's, the first day the guy gets there, all of a sudden he hears in the woods, like, you know, like monkey calls.
Yeah.
You know? And then he's going back and forth with them. And so, you know, they knew for sure that, you know, they already knew that he did that. And so they gave him that monkey call thing, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say is, you were talking about the owls, and when they were walking you out. So what's your, to me, it's an absolute fact. To me, it's an absolute fact, but what is your opinion on shape-shifting with them?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think they're interdimensional, but I don't know. I don't think they shapeshift. I don't know. I don't think they're shapeshifters.
Well,
I don't think they could shrink down to the size of a barn owl, you know?
okay. Well,
I don't know. I don't know.
I respectfully disagree. I've had
Okay.
too many experiences when they have shape-shifted, but we don't have to agree on everything, right?
You know, Alfred, when you were talking about the fear thing, is I got this feeling the same way as humans do this with cats. I know I do. When I see cats walk around the neighborhood or getting close to me and they start acting, nervous, sometimes I just go boo and scare them because it's just like, okay, the cat's going to be afraid. I'll give you something to be afraid of. I think it's like that. They can feel, a dog man and Sasquatch can feel, especially the young ones, they can feel us if we're edgy or whatever. And they go, oh, you're afraid? Let me give you something to be afraid of. You know what I mean? And then to them, it's funny,
Yeah, no,
So,
I mean,
I don't think it's particularly malicious. It's kind of mean spirited, but it's not really malicious.
Yeah.
well, they're juveniles. They're just having fun. You know what I mean?
They love to. They love to have fun and play tricks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, no.
when we talk privately or whatever, I'm actually going to get a YouTube channel going.
Okay.
And I want to get you on there or whatever. But we can talk about why I think they shapeshift or whatever. But because we're both open to all of this stuff, right?
Okay.
But I've have some experiences where there's absolutely no question they have shapeshifted. But
I thought you had I thought you had a YouTube channel.
no, but I'm going to start doing live shows on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I had a large owl sit in my backyard one night up on a perch, and in all the years I've been here, 30 years I've been in this location, I've never seen an owl in the yard. And then one night, this large, and it was a large owl, and it was just sitting there on the perch, and my wife was looking at it, and my son was looking at it, and I was like, oh God, I hope it's not an alien. I was like, but I never thought of Bigfoot, never crossed my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, they give us all different things, different lessons, and they present themselves in different ways. So, I mean, I've had stuff you haven't had, and vice versa, and it's all good, right?
Yeah, I'm open to the idea. As a matter of fact, I never considered a shape-shifting, Bigfoot shape-shifting. I mean, interdimensional, like you said, going into that predator mode, absolutely.
Well, I've actually talked to some people. I mean, I'm not going to get into my experiences. We'll get into that another time. But I've actually talked to some people who have actually seen them shapeshift, like a Sasquatch walking along, shape-shifting into a wolf or something, or vice versa, where they've actually witnessed it happening. And my experience is, yeah, they can definitely do that. But
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's something to
I
think
think
about.
that they're masters of energy. Once you get to when a Sasquatch, if it can disappear, and they can turn into a ball of light. Remember what you said? It's energy, frequency, and consciousness. And they're masters of that. And so they can basically do anything they want. I mean, they can change their weight. They can disappear. They can float above the ground. They can just go completely into another realm. And I think I think they teach us these things. They show us these things.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to open up to that's a possibility. Because I think we're supposed to be able to do the same kind of stuff they do.
Yeah. Well, remember,
I agree with that.
Remember the Kevin Royce story? I won't get into it, but remember when you saw the people and it had the
yeah, he did that twice. That
yeah, I mean that to me. Well, I mean, I already had sealed the deal before that, but that just added another layer of proof to me. But we'll talk about that another time, Alfred. But
absolutely. Yeah, that's just a thought never crossed my mind. Like I said, every now and then when you think you can't learn anything new, they show you something else that just blows your mind.
Surprise!
Yeah, just surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're boy, I'm getting just hit up with energy, man. You're very open, so I mean, it'll probably it'll probably happen to you at some point.
Oh, I hope so. I really do. I hope so. I don't want to have to wait till I pass to be on the other and the energy side of things to have that experience. I want to experience it now, especially with them. You know, I just more than anything else. I really do. I mean, I got my Sasquatch coffee mug here. I got a Sasquatch staring me in my face. An old parking sign. I got my Sasquatch footprint above me. I mean, like I said, I've never had, except for that incident as a kid, all my personal experiences in the woods, whether I was by myself or with a group of people, have always been positive, never negative.
Yeah. So somebody, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, good. You know what? I have a list of 48 things that the Sasquatch people and the ET people have in common.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And maybe it's a lot hard to swallow, but one of them is shape-shifting. You know, the ET people can be shown as an owl or as a clown or as something like that. But then there's like Men in Black that when something happens, it gets covered up, and both of them can mess with the photography equipment. Like you said, you want to get rid of the electronic photography equipment. It just goes on and on. They follow people from generation to generation, or from early childhood on up. That's a common trait between both the ETs and the Sasquatch. So it's, you know, you've got both those things going on. You've had this I think it sounded like an ET kind of inspired awakening, and then you have this strong connection to not only the paranormal but the Sasquatch people specifically. So
yeah, well, when I asked my friend who's an off-worlder about
what is an off-worlder?
He's supposed to be from a different world, you know. He's
in a human body, so he reincarnated in here.
He's an extraterrestrial in the shape of a human, and I asked, and he's unbelievable. I mean, the knowledge he has is just unbelievable. He knows. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. When I asked him who was directing me, you know, like who was guiding me, was that my spirit guide? And he laughed and he said, "Yes, but do you know who your spirit guide is?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "It's you. It was you who was directing you, who was guiding you, you know?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm guiding myself?" And he goes, "Yes, it was you." He said, he goes, "That's why you couldn't see it, because you could just hear it. And I actually felt like someone had me by the shoulder and was pushing me up." But he said, he said, that was you. He goes, "You're your spirit guide." And he goes, you know, like he said that I had just ascended to a different level, you know, just, he said, I guess you were ready. He said it was your time, you know, because he's the kind of guy that, like, you know, he doesn't tell you, like, he won't guide you in any direction. But when you have these awakenings and you ask him questions, he knows everything about it. You know what I mean? Everything about it. And it's just, you know, just the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge he has, you know. He claims to be an off-worlder, and I actually believe, as a matter of fact, Michael, he looks a lot like you. But he's just an amazing dude.
Did he say what
Earth, I'm from Earth?
No, he's very tight-lipped.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who say that we incarnate into these human bodies, but it's only like about 10% of our whole self incarnates in as us, and that we can not only that, because it's such a small percentage, we could be on another planet or be several different kinds of people on Earth at one time, and still have the same oversoul. I think that's fascinating. I don't know if there's any way that anybody can prove that, but there's a lot of people who have stories and they believe that that's true.
Yeah. Another thing is a possibility, and I do know that they can shapeshift, but another thing is they can look through the eyes of animals. Actually, I was told that in like just some kind of knowing or whatever that I was going to be able to see through the eyes of animals. It just, there's some sound or something that, and it hasn't happened yet, but it was like they were just letting me know. But quite often I'll be thinking, is this how it is? Or I'll be thinking about something and wondering if it's real. Did the Sasquatch make this? Is it this? Is it that? Whatever. And instantly there'll be a raven or something fly right over my head and one single caw. Like they're, just instantaneous. It's happened too often, and it's just there's no coincidence, right? It's like
there are no coincidences.
They're answering me through the animal.
That's one thing I've learned, being a paranormal investigator all these years. There's no such things as coincidences. Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. No. Everything that we do was meant to be, or people we meet was meant to be, like-minded people, or even people who are not like-minded, I have so many different friends. I got friends who are paranormal guys. I have friends who are musicians. I have friends who are athletes. I have all different groups of friends. And we were meant to meet. It's just the way it was.
Well, like a couple things that we talked about today that you said that struck something in me and validated it, like the musical notes kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's no coincidence that oh, I just had that experience. There is no coincidences with them at all.
No, there's no coincidence.
I mean, in the universe as a whole. I don't mean
yes.
I mean just them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean too. As the universe as a whole, there is no such thing as coincidences. No. Yeah, and there's no such thing as time either. This concept of time is nonsense.
No, like I said, I'll come up with a thought. I'm in agreement with them. Geez, I think this glyph means this. And then 5 years prior, they already know that I knew that meaning because I can read their language. And I said, wow, they already knew. Like, it was just like, okay. And so many lessons in time. Yeah. Like, that's how they have the advantage of being such a great teacher, because they know what you're going to do before you do it. They know your future before it happens. It's just like, what a gift for a teacher to possess. Right. And for you to
and I'll tell you what, the photograph of the one I have, he is so different than any so much different than Patty or the one I seen down in Florida. You know what I mean? Or all these other ones, like the other people that talk about what they see. This guy is so unique. It's funny that you use the word, you use the phrase ancient ones.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's what he looks like, an ancient one, and I could never find the words to describe him until you said that. And it was like, all of a sudden, that's it. That's the way I would describe this guy, as like an ancient one. I'll send you the photograph and you tell me what you think,
I'll send you some of my photographs too. I've got some pictures of them,
And like I said, it was funny because we had all these photographs and we put our stuff out there for anyone to look at, because we're just working guys. We don't have, the top notch equipment. And one guy sent me, we were so entailed by all the orbs that were in the photograph, different colors and faces and everything in it. And they only came out after we did like a native ceremony. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And
I do know what you mean.
And so we were and I can't tell you, we looked at this picture on a 60-inch screen, 5-6 different guys, 100 times. And no one's seen that Sasquatch sitting underneath that bush looking at us. And this guy out in California found it. He sent it to me and he says, you got a Sasquatch underneath this bush. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said it to me. And I said, oh, this is Photoshop for sure. So I pulled out the original SD card that it was on, and I put it in the computer and look at it. And it's like, holy crap, how did we miss this? You know what I mean? It's right there in the image, but everybody in that room was so entailed with the different orbs and the faces in them that we never got past that point to see the Sasquatch watching us. And then in another photograph, when we were bluff charged by the dog man, we had thermal, night vision, infrared, all kinds of cameras going. Okay. And I pulled out a little Sony camera this big and took one photograph out with it, you know? And of course, I didn't see anything in it, you know, and all the other cameras that we had didn't show anything in them. And put it out there. This guy found it, and there's this dog, man. You see this? It looks almost like a pit bull's head, just hanging over the wall, sniffing over. But you can see like pointed ears, like on a Doberman, sniffing over the wall, and that's the only image we caught of it. And when this guy found it, he sent it to me. I was like, again, I thought it was photoshopped. I said, so I pulled out the original SD card and I looked, and I was like, there it is. How did we not see the eye shine, the nose, the ears? But we didn't. It was blind to us. We didn't see it till somebody else pointed it out to us, you know? And I always try to debunk everything, you know, like I see so many photographs on the internet that people put out there. I throw more photographs away than I would ever put out on the internet claiming that they are anything. You know what I mean? 99% of the stuff that's out there that people are claiming are this, that, or the other thing are photographs I would have thrown away, you know?
Well, I'd be interested to see what you think of some of my pictures.
Okay. Absolutely.
But what was I going to? Oh, I was going to say somebody in the chat mentioned that you have some amazing dog man stories. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was Rick Laura. You did an interview with him.
Oh, Lieutenant. Yeah. Now, can we do it another time? I'm getting ready. I got an appointment at 4 o'clock.
Absolutely, man.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So
we like to milk the cow.
Did you
hey, look, I could talk for hours, believe me. But if I got an eye doctor appointment at 4, I got to get to.
Did you, how much time do you got? 10 minutes? Something like that? Or you have to go?
Yeah, no, I got to get going. I really do. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell everybody where they can reach you, or where they can see you, connect to you, you know, be your buddy and, you know, give you money.
I don't want nobody. I don't want nobody from nobody. Look, even in our investigations, when we do cleansings and stuff like that, we don't charge. I don't charge anybody for anything. If you're in dire straits and you need my help and I can help you, I'll do it for you for free. If I can't help you and I gotta, you know, because I don't deal with anything dark, like, you know, demonic stuff, I can point you to people to take care of stuff like that. They may charge you for their services, but I'll never charge anybody for their services.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
the same. So just in a couple of minutes, how have the Sasquatch changed your life? And then we'll wrap it up.
I don't know how they changed my life. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, they've made me so much more aware of nature and dimensions and all kinds of stuff like that. You know, I'm a big fan of Native American folklore, and I believe if the Native Americans are saying that they're able to do these things, then I believe them 100%, because they've dealt with them longer than we have, and probably at a higher level of consciousness, you know, because they were so one with the earth and nature, you know. And
we're all going to get back there eventually. That's what
I hope so. Like I'm a big believer that the earth is a lot older than people say, and civilization has come and gone past this point already, maybe 2 or 3 times, you know. I'm a big believer in that. I believe there's so much knowledge that was lost to time that I think eventually it will come back to light. You know, we'll find that stuff, and it's going to blow a lot of people's minds when that knowledge comes to light, you know. If you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook at the Bronxville Paranormal Society. We have a Facebook page. We have a website. You could find me at the New York State SASQUATCH organization, the New York State UFO Project, and the North American Dogman Project New York State chapter. I'm at all of, or you could just reach out to me personally on my own personal Facebook page. If anyone's got any questions they want to ask me or anything, I always answer everybody's back as quickly as I can. I don't have any problem talking to anybody.
Okay, so
Thanks for coming, man.
we're gonna definitely have you back because like I've said with a lot of guests, it feels like we barely scratched the surface. But that's definitely true with you. You know, like there's a lot more we can talk about.
We barely scratched the surface. Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I'm gonna start a YouTube live thing where we go live. And I would like to have you on that. And
anytime, just reach out to me. You know, like I said, I'm cutting back on these interviews, but anytime a friend reaches out to me and asks me for an interview, that I'll be more than happy to do it for him.
But we're also on the same page, right? So that makes a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know absolutely. I mean? Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Alfred.
I'm going to reach out to you privately, not tomorrow, because we got some stuff going on around here, family illnesses and stuff like that we're taking care of.
I hope it goes good.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but I'll reach out to you next week at some point and we'll have a private conversation because I got a zillion questions for you, but I don't want the whole world to know what you know, all of these answers. You know, let them find out for themselves. You know, there's a couple of people that I've taken under my wing over the years, and I'll throw them bones and help them get along a little quicker. You know, like I have a couple of old timers that I pick their brains, you know, all the time. But with the old timers, they don't give you anything just off the cuff. You know what I mean? They'll wait for you to have that epiphany and then reach out to them. And then when you tell them, I've had this epiphany, then they'll tell you more about that. You know what I mean? They just don't tell people stuff. But I got a couple of guys that are true at heart that I've taken under my wing, and I'm helping them to move along a lot quicker than it took me, you know, all these years to get where I'm at. And this way, if I could help them get there a little bit quicker, you know, it's going to be the next generation to carry on the research and stuff like that. You know, like I said, there's only like 2-3 people that are good hearts that I know that I can give this information to, and they're not going to put it out there in a book or, you know, tell the world about it because it was a gift from me to them, and they hold that dearly.
I put everything out there myself, but I would not, if you told me something, I wouldn't put it out there without your permission, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, like if whenever I tell somebody something that I want to move along, and I don't want them to tell the world, I'll say, just leave this in the vault. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And but if I don't say that, then you got my permission to just tell the world about it. But you know, like I said, the old timers that have helped me. I mean, I'm considered the old timer now. You know what I mean? Everybody says I'm the old man, and but the old timers that have helped me along, you know, I appreciate everything they've done for me. But like I said, they don't give you any gifts. You gotta come to them with your epiphanies, and then they'll explain them to you. Where I'm not gonna make you wait that long. I'm gonna help you get there a little bit sooner. You know, and stuff like that.
My First Nations guy who brought me along when I was told to go to the mountains, I got like mind speak, go to the mountains. I met this guy right away. He he would never tell me anything until I experienced it, just like that. And I would tell him like crazy stories, like a hearing, like whatever, and incredible stuff. And he says, "Oh, that happened to you, eh?" You know, and nothing was surprising him.
No, they don't know. They laugh and they say, "Okay, you're at that level now." You know,
we experienced that,
yeah,
kind of thing. Anyway, man, I don't want to wear out our welcome with you. I know you have to go. So thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure.
We're going to have you back if we could.
Absolutely.
And we'll be in contact. I'll send you some pictures. We can chat back and forth. And
no, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I got a million questions for you as well. And yeah, we'll keep it private. You know what I mean? And like I said, as far as me, we just scratched the surface with me. You know what I mean? Yeah, we could take, and we could take this in so many different directions, whether you want, go paranormal or UFO or even dark stuff. I've had dark stuff happen to me. I don't go looking for dark stuff, and I don't play with that stuff, but every now and then it comes my way, So.
Yeah. Well, Alfred.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of
It's been my pleasure.
And Frank Oliver Beans, this has been the Pork and Beans Show. We would like to thank Alfred Santariga for being our guest. We're going to have him back. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.
Ciao.
I love you so, don't you know? I wanna be your play. All the buttons coming down. Take it my time. Hot and high, hot and high, hot and high, high. For the tummy, oh my, love a big old thing of pork and beans. Goody, 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 goody. Love it, love it, love it. In the tummy. Love baby, love hard, love ooh, love wide. I love me some bowling rain. Don't you know you gotta need that feed. You got to have some pork and beans. Pork and beans. I'm gonna holla, yo, mashed potato, oh, have it now, don't wait for later, by the time. Come and get your health and come sing and see. Come on back and party high, do it all again. I love you so, and don't you know, just need a big